Ladies and gentlemen, I am Kayaba Akihiko, head programmer. Welcome to the unparalleled online experience that is Sword Art Online. Hello, people. Kind of talking here. Focus. Okay, yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and disable general chat here.
Do you think he realizes he just muted himself?
Give it a minute.
Alright, I just realized what happened there. It's very funny, but right now, serious time. How many of you have seen Tron? Huh? What, seriously? None of you have seen Tron? Shit, I was really banking on that. Okay, no problem. I can wing this. Much like the world of Warcraft, none of you are here by choice anymore. Unlike WoW, however, you're being held here by me, not by your need to escape your empty f***ing lives.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rolling 20s. We are the crew that's working out ahead of the next convention. Boxes of hockey are heavy. I am Jeremy.
Steve. And Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library at missionstarpodcast.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes and on Stitcher. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The theme song you heard at the show is by Machinae Supremacy. You can find most of their discography largely for free download at machinaesupremacy.com, with their latest couple of albums available on amazon.com. The clip you heard at the very beginning of the show was SAO Abridged Parody Episode 1 by SWE Abridged on YouTube. You can find their entire channel on youtube.com. What's the afternoon like?
I don't know, but I would like to say that the boxes of ramen are even heavier.
I am exhausted, but that's because I've just been absorbed into Destiny.
We all have been to some rather embarrassing degrees, I think.
Yeah.
A little bit irked that I'm not further along in the story yet.
Honestly, we've been kind of taking it easy. Jesse's already beat the campaign.
Oh yeah, I turned to a game zombie.
Taking it easy. We haven't been taking it easy. We've just been grinding out the lower stuff pretty heavily.
Yeah. Well, and I did level up my Titan to level 8 last night.
Huh.
So
Well, I'm like a hair away from 23 right now.
I'm still 20 on my Warlock.
Well, I still need to do the Moon Strike. I know where that box is. I need to pick that up.
Yep. Maybe we can do that today.
That sounds like a plan. The story for today actually is the first book of Annihilation, the cosmic story that seems to have revamped Marvel's entire cosmic lineup. We'll see if that holds true. At the very beginning, we have Kickstarter Corner, which of course has been slimmed back because we've heard people say that we talk too much about these things. So we're going to keep it specifically to the items that interest us. That leaves us with only 2. The first one ends in just over 9 hours, which I believe makes it midnight. That's Chibo, the world's first family robot. We have joked about this thing. It is a small... You can say robot because there's a minor amount of AI in here. It recognizes faces. It takes and reads messages for you. It can answer your calls. It can answer your email. It can give you updates on specific items you want to know about. And it has a limited amount of facial recognition technology, which means if you give it multiple users, it will recognize them by their looks. If you smile at it, it will take your picture even. It sounds like an interesting device, and apparently a lot of people thought so. This ends in just over 9 hours, so it ends at the end of at the beginning of September 15th. Has 5,456 backers. The goal to get this started is $100,000. They currently sit at $2,258,081.
It's amazing.
I know. Are we looking at a new industry?
Possibly.
Well, I don't know about a new industry, but yeah, it's...
It just seems like the nature of the technology that's been standard since a lot of us have been kids are really changing. You know, televisions are no longer just televisions. They're monitors where you plug in all these different devices. TV isn't even the main medium nowadays. I say the internet is where everything gets done.
Mm-hmm.
VR in the 80s was talked about as a very interesting concept, but it was only for the rich. Now it seems like it's going to be close to getting in the hands of all of us as consumers. It does seem like we're hitting a new era of what we're capable of. The only thing we haven't done that a lot of sci-fi movies we've seen growing up is colonize space yet.
Or
And we see
commercial
getting dangerously
hovercrafts.
close to that. No, you can keep that shit. I do a balloon. I just think it's a sign. The only other Kickstarter I have is actually one I just came across in the last week because this could touch the kids and a lot of us. There is a man named Thomas Benedict of Toronto, Canada. He has a Kickstarter open so he can create an 8-foot Lego replica of the Super Star Destroyer from Star Wars.
Oh shit!
Wow. 8 feet.
Yes. 8 feet long is what his plans currently are currently on. He's already created, if I'm reading this correctly, a 52-pound Mon Calamari Star Cruiser.
Wow.
Damn.
That's
He
a
has a
lot of
blog.
Legos.
Yeah, he's a busy man with Legos and a blog. He's actually been in Gizmodo. Well, he has 19 days to go in this project. It ends on Friday, October 3rd. It has 81 backers. The goal to get this done is $15,000 Canadian. Currently sits at $1,488 Canadian.
We should contact Lego.
Actually, that's a decent idea.
I'm pretty sure they'd love the promotion.
Probably. I might actually have this wrong. He's got this set up in scale with a 5'11" Stormtrooper. This may actually be closer to 9 feet. I'm sorry. Piece count, dimensions. He's got dimensions here, but these don't sound right. Okay. Here we go. It's going to be 12.5 feet.
Wow.
12.5 feet by 4.5 feet by 1 foot.
That's a big hunk of plastic.
Yeah, this man doesn't play with Legos.
No, he builds.
Yeah. So, an interesting idea nonetheless. From there, we'll move into our video game news, and some of that has actually... It's creating some question marks in my mind as to what in the world is going on out there, and I think you guys will understand when we get there. First off, the Xbox One release in Japan, the sales are pretty pathetic.
That's what I heard last week.
Yeah, according to Famitsu, which is the Nintendo magazine, the Xbox One sold 23,562 units in Japan in its first week. That's from September 7th. Yeah, September 4th to September 7th.
That's not exactly an unbiased reporting.
I know. I realize
agency,
that. They did put it in perspective. The 360, when it opened, it sold 60,000 units in its first 2 days. So interest one in Japan is not strong. Now, I don't quite know where else to say besides that. I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Let's just hope that. Actually, there's nothing to hope about because I'm not going to sit here and chill Xbox. I have one. I enjoy it, but hey, if they don't like it, they don't like it.
Yep.
We did get an update as to the release date of Batman Arkham Knight, though.
Oh, when's that?
No longer is a general date in 2015. It is now slated for June of 2015. The official date is June 2nd. So that would come out just before the Anime Expo of next year. There's actually 3 editions. There's going to be the Standard Edition, the Arkham Knight Limited Edition, the Arkham Knight Batmobile Edition. The Arkham Knight Edition comes with an 80-page full-color art book, limited edition steelbook case, a limited DC comic book, exclusive character skin pack of 3 unique skins from DC Comics, a Batman memorial statue. This is for $99. And the Batman Arkham Knight Batmobile set comes with all of that, except it doesn't come with a Batman memorial statue. It comes with a transforming Batmobile statue.
Huh.
Transforming?
Yeah, because it pops up into the tank.
Yeah. Assault mode and pursuit mode.
Okay.
The retail on that's going to be $200.
Wow.
I'll just take a game, thank you.
Yeah.
Not that it wouldn't be cool to have this little transforming Batmobile, but yeah, no.
Yeah, it sounds kind of nifty and everything, but in the end, I have small kids.
In the end, you hardcore fans doesn't enjoy that. I'm not that hardcore.
Yeah, it's definitely not my speed. I do have one here that kind of took me sideways. EA says they're fixing a filter on The Sims 4. I wasn't aware that this was a problem, but I could see why some people would consider it some. EA is adding removing a filter that prevented same-sex characters from having relationships in The Sims.
Hmm.
The game also wouldn't let players share Sims through its online gallery if they use words like gay, homosexual, or queer in the character's name or description. Those filters are being removed as well. Say what you will. I just think it's reflective of the type of world we're in.
I think someone just took their profanity or harassment filter and just input it in there and didn't bother to check it or something.
No, I think they did bother to check it because a lot of the times these filters, the words in them are carried over from older games, and it wasn't that long ago that words like gay, queer, and homo were insults straight people would levy at each other. So I think it's the nature of the changing world and just the fact that we don't use these words to try to insult each other as much as we used to.
Well, it couldn't be as bad. It couldn't be as bad as Shadowbane, where you couldn't say refrigerator because they thought it was a profanity.
That wasn't Shadowbane. That was PSO.
Oh, okay. Still.
How is refrigerator a profanity? Is it dirty?
Because it had frig.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, frack that.
Yeah, it was quite amusing. You couldn't type shoes because it had hose. You couldn't. Yeah, the profanity filter was quite amusing. Refrigerator was my personal best in getting the longest string of bleeped out letters.
Characters?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was quite amusing.
That's too bizarre for me. Now, either of you guys remember an old Sega CD game called Night Trap?
Night Trap. I've seen things on the internet. I've never owned a Sega system.
Okay, I have not played this, probably because when this came out, I think I was 13.
Yeah.
So my parents were pretty diligent about that, so I've never played it. There was a man who took Night Trap to an Albuquerque, New Mexico store and traded in his copies for credits. Now, that in itself is not really news. What is news is, for some reason, he had 203 copies, all with the original boxes.
What the hell?
I don't know what he was doing with it. I don't know where he got it. But it's one of the more infamous home console games, simply because it has, I don't want to say some adult, but we'll say mature content on it.
Yeah.
It was this game in particular was quoted in regards to one of those 1994 hearings into the dangers of video games.
Really?
Yeah, it was Exhibit A.
Yeah.
And this guy who had it, he just had a quote, van full of boxes of old Sega stuff. And he was just clearing up a room in his house. Almost wonder what else he had. But that's not the only thing. There's actually a Kickstarter out there right now to revive the game.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I didn't mention that because I'm not very familiar with it, and the Kickstarter was pretty badly defeated. It needed like $330,000 to start, and it got just under $40,000.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, 40,000 is still somewhat impressive. I mean, nowhere close to their goal, but
I'm rather impressed it got that far for that title. It's
I know. It's pretty obscure. Speaking of the non-obscure, there's going to be a new bundled collection of Assassin's Creed games coming out soon. For the, it looks like it's going to be Assassin's... Ooh, wait, I need to back up here.
Try again.
The Assassin's Creed, the Americas bundle, has 3 previous generation games in it. Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed Liberation HD, and Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. They're all going to be in one package, available for October 28th in North America on the PS3 and 360. That's the 3 most recent Assassin's Creed games, so basically the ones just before Unity.
So for PS3 and Xbox 360?
Yeah. It's going to be released in Europe as well on October 3rd, but it's going to be known as Assassin's Creed Birth of a New World. And then in November is when Unity and Rogue come out. It's going to be a busy Christmas for Assassin's Creed fans.
yeah.
I'm just curious why they're releasing it on the previous generation consoles, though.
Probably because these games don't really exist on the current the current generation stuff.
Yeah,
They're all
Unity
made on
is going to be the
360
first
PS3.
one for Xbox One, PS4.
Okay.
Yeah. So, I don't know if they're not abandoning these games because they're releasing Rogue, but it's probably a good way to try and get people who haven't played all of their games caught up before the new games come out.
Yeah, I suppose.
Well, that's not the only game series getting a compilation. word is that some people may be working on a compilation of Xenosaga.
Really?
Yes.
Now just don't release it on a freaking portable, and I might actually be able to play some of the later games.
Well, hold on. The Bandai Namco producer Katsuhiro Harada proposed to fans that maybe, just maybe, a Xenosaga HD collection could happen.
Stop
the original
teasing.
Xenosaga trilogy was a PS2 release. Right now, Takahashi's working on Xenoblade Chronicles X for the Wii U. But Harada, who produces the Tekken games, really seems to want this HD collection to happen.
Sure, there are plenty of people that want that collection to happen.
Yeah,
I'm
in a
not one
format
of
that
them.
I could play.
Yeah, I'm not one of them. I've never really been interested in the games. If I had to get my pick, somebody remake Xenogears for me.
Well, that's part of the series.
I know it's part of the series, but it seems so far removed from everything else that happens in it.
Well, it is the final bit that they made before all the prequels.
Yeah. And then that's not the last interesting tweet about compilations. Hideo Kojima put out a tweet. All it was a single picture. The picture of text. It looked like it's projected on a wall somewhere. It says, Metal Gear Collection 2014.
I'll be honest, I've never played a Metal Gear game at all.
Metal Gear Solid, very good game.
And 2. 2
Very
is
good.
decent.
Yeah, the second one, a lot of fun. The third one is where things kind of took a turn for me.
Yeah, you weren't even playing Snake anymore.
Yeah. I hear Revengeance is a good one, though.
A little less
It's like
stealthy
anime
and
to the
lot
extreme.
more- a
It's
lot
action.
more
It's all
sword
action.
fighting and crap, yeah.
It's
Yeah,
all.
it's kind of like, what do you call it? Ninja Gaiden in a cyborg skin.
Yeah, it sounds some
Final
great
Fantasy-
music.
Yeah, so I've heard. Further in video game news, Final Fantasy is having a new game come out. Although, unfortunately, we're getting Square Enix's usual propensities, and what I mean by that is that the next Final Fantasy game is Final Fantasy Worldwide Words.
Words?
Yes, it's a Japanese typing game.
Lovely.
Oh, great. It's
Yeah.
another House of the Dead.
You start out building your party from a roster of familiar Final Fantasy characters and proceed through worlds by battling monsters using various abilities and summons that are activated by typing words that appear on the screen. Oh, fuck.
All right, kids, you enjoyed that one.
Well, segueing into kids' enjoyment, Blizzard is nerfing two of their most popular Hearthstone cards.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, the Leroy Jenkins card and the Starving Buzzard cards are being nerfed.
Yep.
The Leroy Jenkins is called a versatile card in a deck, but it might be most useful for Miracle Rogues. Jenkins will now cost 5 mana instead of 4.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting them to do that one.
Nerf number 2, Starving Buzzard, which they call a cornerstone card, will now cost 5 mana instead of 2. Also get the slight attack and health buff, taking it from 2-1 to 3-2.
Yeah, it's going to drastically affect how Hunter decks are built and played.
It's interesting what Blizzard said in their explanation. Quote, Leroy Jenkins created a strategy that revolved around trying to defeat your opponent in one turn without requiring any cards on the board. Fighting for board control and battles between minions make an overall game of Hearthstone more fun and compelling, but taking 20 plus damage in one turn is not particularly fun or interactive.
No, it's not.
This was occurring when Leroy was using combination with other cards like Power Overwhelming, Faceless Manipulator, Cold Blood, Shadow Step, and Unleash the Hounds, among others. The amount of cards Starving Buzzard allowed Hunter players to draw ultimately ended up being too excessive for its low cost. This change will allow the Hunter's opponent more time to react to both the Starving Buzzard and the cards drawn by its power. Extra cards that are being changed can be disenchanted for their full cost for a limited time once this balance change goes live. The currently targeted date of this balance change is September 22nd. So you hear that, people? You want to dominate, you got to finish your games now. Speaking of games that are just driving us insane, Destiny content is suddenly starting to stream out like profanities from Gilbert Gottfried. Actually, starting tomorrow is the Vault of Glass raid at level 25.
Yep.
And then after that, they're talking about, already in September, the Combined Arms and Queen Wrath event, and then in October, the Iron Banner opens up. The Iron Banner is going to be scary. Have you read what that is?
No.
You know how the Crucible, it scales the powers of everybody so they're all in relatively level playing zone regardless of what level they jump in the Crucible?
Right.
Yep.
The Iron Banner doesn't do that. Whatever you walk in with is the powers and abilities you have.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Well, at least they should, tailor the gathering system to, get similarly level players together. At least I hope.
It actually doesn't mention that. It literally sounds like it's just a Crucible without level restrictions.
Oh, fuck me.
So if level 2 walks in there, you meet.
Well, I mean, that just means that that's going to be a high-level PvP. I mean, there will be some people that, I take the challenge, I can take you on when I'm level 5, but at the same time, no.
Ow, 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 my balls, ow, my balls,
Yeah.
ow, ow. I kind of agree with this article I found on Kotaku. One of the hardest characters that video games have ever had to adapt is probably Rogue from the X-Men. Her powers are so variable depending on what she runs into.
Yep.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Rogue is being released in Marvel Heroes, the free online. I don't know if it's an MMO so much as a MOBA, but the online game is releasing their own version of Rogue. I can send you guys a YouTube because they have some very, very interesting concepts on this character.
Shoot.
Almost makes you want to reopen my my Marvel Heroes account. I haven't been on that in a long time. There it is. Love how everything starts with that giant Marvel logo.
Since attacking Ms. Marvel as a youth and permanently absorbing her powers, Rogue turned a new corner and joined with the X-Men to fight for good.
Yeah, everyone keeps forgetting that when Rogue was pop culture, she had someone else's abilities.
With others, a dangerous scenario.
Yeah, it's an argument I often get into with Jimmy.
Landed in the hospital.
In Marvel Heroes 20,
He doesn't know what her actual powers are?
No.
As we tackle the challenge of
He didn't like her portrayal in the Marvel movies because he's used to her having her iconic, powers rather than only her absorbing.
I mean, her actual powers.
Yeah.
Just keep your distance, Rogue, and we'll get along fine.
The Steal from Friends tree focuses on powers that are acquired from other players. In hubs or in the field, you can collect.
I like the fact she has the Steal from Friends tree.
Steal from Foes is a tree that focuses on collecting powers from bosses and other strong.
It's actually interesting that you play Rogue in this game, and you can get the abilities of people you play with and play against.
Yeah.
That's a nifty idea.
Now, is it going to cost me $90 to play her?
I really don't know. I don't know if this is a new buy.
Even alter her physical form and wield the combined great powers of her fellow X-Men. Rogue is truly
And there's her infamous "I stole everything" look.
Yeah.
the best or most interesting powers that they want at their fingertips. A build-your-own hero that will continue to grow as
That does look like the Rogue everyone's used to. Flying, super strength, taking everything.
She will make an amazing addition to
And her doing that rubber punch was just weird looking.
Sugar, we ready to rock?
The game does look like it's changed since the last time I played it. There's a lot more content in there from what I'm looking at.
Well, they just released a whole new year, the Marvel Heroes 2015.
And it looks like She-Hulk team up. I don't know what that's about. It doesn't say. Oh, here we go. Rogue buy now. Let's see how much this would cost to actually play this character. $20.
Okay, that's not too bad.
You get Rogue. You get two costumes: the modern costume and the '90s costume. You get Rogue's special stash box where you can put, you can put stuff there just for that character. 6 fortune cards and 1 retcon device. That's not terrible.
All to say is, what they did with this character is really kind of opening the doors for making some variable characters or altering existing ones.
I've heard the game balance is much better. They've actually created... it's not as easy to burn through the game with single characters anymore. In other words, you have to adapt your playstyle a little bit now, depending on what your character's abilities are. My only complaint right now for the game as is that I think the price point for a single character should be closer to $10 than $20. That would be my thing.
Yeah.
And looking in the Marvel Hero store right now, I see some heroes that are $19.99, some $17.99, some of the least popular ones are $10. Some of them, if you get packs, like single characters with multiple costumes, can be as much as $50.
Hell no.
The example I have there is the Hulk in 5 costumes.
Yeah.
Or Spider-Man in 6 costumes.
The thing is, most of those costumes are just a palette swap.
Well, yeah, but some people have serious preferences. It's like me. I remember what Luke Cage looked like in the 70s. I would never want him to look like that.
Well, that's the reason why I never got into the game, because I looked at it and I'm like, okay, so you make a game, and then you're gonna advertise it as free, and it is. But if you want anything specific, they know they've got you by the balls. They've already got you playing the game, so they're just gonna rape you for money. And I was like, nope, not gonna get into it.
I played through it twice, and if you're tenacious enough, yes, you can get everything in the game without paying a cent. That is absolutely true. However, that also means you're probably going to end up playing the game probably a minimum of 3-4 times all the way through just to try and get the first character you want that isn't an immediate gimme.
Yeah, I didn't get into the picture. I was just got done playing Diablo and played almost exactly like Diablo, so I was already kind of burned on the play style already.
Well, like I said, there's something here I feel like looking into. I just don't know if I'd shell out any more money for it. Yeah. That's all. Last bit of video game news I have is that there is an interesting glitch that's ruining some Smash Brothers time for people.
Oh,
really?
Yeah, Super Smash Brothers for the 3DS is moderated. Players who cheat, disconnect, or engage in unsportsmanlike conduct face sanctions. So you can't even rage quit, okay?
That's amusing.
However, there's Oh, okay. Well, that's not the glitch. The glitch is that players who select Peach in online for the Glory mode have been slapped with one-day bans.
Really? Why?
That's the thing. People are not entirely sure. The best theory is that they don't want you cheating. No bringing in extra items that that your character doesn't have. The theory is because the down B attack for Peach is pulling a turnip from the ground. Perhaps the game is erroneously marking you as having or creating an extra item in the game. Some people have noted, though, that Link has a down B attack. That means he pulls a bomb out of the ground, and he's not getting banned.
Yeah.
It's a strange issue that doesn't have a definitive fix or explanation right now.
Yeah, because that's the thing. I mean, if I were Nintendo, I would be immediately on going, okay, this is the reason why, or, oh, our bad, we'll get that taken care of.
Yeah, I haven't seen any actual formal statement yet. It's very bizarre. We'll move on to Marvel Media News. Biggest piece I've got right now is kind of a twofer. Number 1, Robert Downey Jr. says there are no definitive plans on Iron Man 4 right now.
Okay.
I can't say that's entirely surprising because, he's getting up in years. He can't be Tony Stark forever, unlike the printed version.
Right.
It could be they're getting ready to create a change, or it could be that Downey himself is actually saying, hey, why aren't there plans for Iron Man 4 to make other people go, hey, why aren't there plans for Iron Man 4?
He would do that.
Pay this man. So that's one possible theory. The other part of this, though, is Age of Ultron related in the fact that some jackass who put out a Twitter image may have spoiled the vision.
Really?
I don't mean he did that intentionally. It looked like a guy who just had someone take a picture of himself in front of some promotional art. And we've all seen promotional art for Age of Ultron before, right?
Some.
I have not seen this one. I sent you the URL, and it's a very different picture from what I've seen before. You can see above the man, right up there, is the Vision in the center top.
Yeah.
So it has subtle differences from what I would call his most well-known look from the comics. Much more red on that costume. The green is deeper.
Not as much yellow.
Yeah, I would say so. But even more embarrassing was that there was a leak a while ago. And this image is covered by watermarks, but it appears that Sideshow Collectibles, the people who do those fancy statues, looked like someone gave them some early designs on the Vision so they could work on statues and toys. I sent you another URL. Like I said, it is heavy on watermarks, so it's a little difficult to make out certain things.
Oh,
but
wow.
It appears it's very consistent with the designs on the costumes that we've seen so far. So I would guess that this is probably legitimate. It's easier to find all the gold in this picture. I will say that.
Yeah.
They're on the bracers, the shoulders, and that symbol he's got in the center of his chest, which is not a diamond. It looks more like an arrowhead chevron.
Yeah.
So this is what Paul Bettany may look like soon. It's not bad. Much better than I pictured. When it comes to this show, it's no secret that every once in a while I use clips from Honest Trailers. They come out with some funny critiques of movies.
Which one did you find this time?
I didn't, actually. Now, the people who did the direction on The Winter Soldier, the Russo brothers, they're actually fans of Honest Trailers.
Really? Okay.
So, yeah, they watch Honest Trailers all the time. So when they were writing The Winter Soldier, they said that Honest Trailers was their inspiration. They would go back through the script and see if there was anything in there that Honest Trailers would have a chance to make fun of. They credit Honest Trailer for helping them work on the logic of the film and make it harder to assail.
Really? Nice.
Yes. Some people would argue that the biggest problem with the Winter Soldier is why didn't he call for the Avengers? It's like, well, if you can't trust S.H.I.E.L.D., how can you trust half the guys that help work with them? Who knows? Your call for help may get rerouted. But that was the biggest complaint I heard about the movie. I just find it funny that these guys just said, okay, will this make anyone make fun of us? Yes? Okay, that has to go. Let's figure this out. I think it's Joe Russo who actually said, quote, "What's so funny is I'm an avid Honest Trailer watcher. I love it. It cracks me up. So we used to sit in the room and go, this is not going to end up in an Honest Trailer. This logic isn't sound enough yet. We literally tried to Honest Trailer proof the movie. Because what Honest Trailers really is, and I'll say litmus test again, is how sound is the logic in your film? How ridiculous are the buys you're asking the audience to make? So we would just comb through the script over and over and go, how do we shore up this logic? How do we shore up this logic? So it was a very helpful exercise for us, unquote.
I think other scriptwriters should take note.
Well, the folks at Screen Junkies who do the Honest Trailer stuff, they said they, quote, waved the white flag of surrender when it came to the Winter Soldier, unquote.
Damn.
They did make an honest trailer, but they kept saying throughout it, oh, look, we'll be honest, this is a pretty damn good movie.
Writers, take notes. Watch
Well,
this shit.
That's not the only Captain America news in there. Cap also said, Chris Evans himself, the guy playing Steve Rogers, said, not so fast when it comes to giving up the shield. He told MTV, quote, who's handing off the shield? Don't take my job from me prematurely, dude. I'm sure it'll happen at some point. All good things have to come to an end, but I'm really happy playing this character, unquote. Of course, that still doesn't say anything about extending his contract, which ends soon.
Yeah.
So, we'll see where that goes. Kevin Feige, the guy in charge of the Marvel movies on a whole, though, has said that the title for Captain America 3 has been in his brain for 10 years.
Really?
Yeah. He says, quote, if you've been talking, or who said this? In an interview with Crave Online, the Russos, the directors of Winter Soldier, said, quote, if you've been talking to Kevin Feige, the title has been probably in place for 10 years in his brain. It's all part of the roadmap he's laid out, and it's all part of the bigger plan. Unquote. So that almost makes you wonder, what big stories happened in Marvel about 10 years ago? Well, Captain America stories, more specifically.
Well, I know you already have your theory.
I like my theory.
I like your theory, too.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Wasn't keeping
I'm not
track
saying
of it 10 years ago.
I mean, about 10 years ago, I want to say about 10 years ago was around the time the Winter Soldier was actually reintroducing comics. I think the Civil War was about 10 years ago, but the Civil War heavily features other characters that Marvel doesn't have access to for movies, like Wolverine and Reed Richards. Spider-Man played a huge part in that. His was probably the most important part of the Civil War. So I seriously doubt that Newsarama's theories on that hold water.
Of course, they also retconned the hell out of what happened to him in that event.
Well, if you're going to do Civil War, frankly, without those three characters, all it is an Avengers Civil War. They're the ones who had the most interest in it.
Mm-hmm.
Heroes Return also happened. No, I don't think that was 2006. I think that was much earlier. So I don't know what exactly happened 10 years ago that would inspire Kevin Feige that much. I'm still leaning on the death of Captain America. That makes the most sense. Wait, the death of Captain America happened at the end of Civil War.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, shit.
That's why
Okay.
I was saying, I was like, well, I know you already have your theory.
Yeah. Okay, I'll stick with that then. Actually, let me look it up real quick. Yes, the Civil War happened in 2006, which would have been 10 years before Captain America 3 comes out. Oh boy. Okay, well, it's a whole bunch of spitball and may turn out to be true. Now, there's a hint, possibly, that the Guardians of the Galaxy may have some kind of significant role in Avengers 3.
I wouldn't put it past them.
Well, word is that because of the sudden idea of a sequel for Guardians of the Galaxy, that Disney Marvel has been scrambling to re-sign all the actors that played roles in it.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Bautista said that he was renegotiating his contract, for a multi-movie deal.
Really?
Which indicates that it's not just the Guardians that he's going to be working on at some point. Now, that could indicate that maybe Drax is going to be in movies beyond Guardians of the Galaxy. None of the others have said anything in that regard. Or it could be that because Dave Bautista is such an imposing physical figure, it's possible they may be asking him to step into a couple other
Different
heavily
roles.
make-up roles.
Yeah.
So I don't quite know what to expect from this. This could just be Bautista spitballing and trying to make other people say, yes, sign him. You know, he could be pulling a Robert Downey Jr. for all I know. So we'll see. But I kind of hope that if there's any Guardians of the Galaxy that make it to Earth, Drax would not be high on my list. I mean, the highest ones would be Star-Lord and Rocket Raccoon, frankly. The others would be a little too unusual for that cast. You could almost expect, like, Thor and Drax to get into a punching contest. James Gunn, the director of the Guardians of the Galaxy, said at Dragon Con, he dropped some hints that there will be more female characters in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. There will be new female Guardians, but no new Earthlings. You know why he said that in particular, I assume?
No, Nova.
No?
No?
Carol Danvers.
Oh, yes, that's true. Okay.
Nova has never been a Guardian, but in current comics, Carol Danvers, the current Captain Marvel, is. So that means that that particular theory of mine is gone, but that does leave the door open for characters like Mantis and the second Quasar, Phyla-Vell. Actually, they're the only two other modern Guardians I know of that were women. Though they could reach back a little further and get other Guardians like Yellow Jacket. No, wait, Yellow Jacket's going to be the villain in the Ant-Man movie. Okay, that really limits the ideas then. So, other than Nebula and Mantis, I'm at a loss as to who that could be. They would have to be aliens of some sort. I was interested by the fact that Andrew Garfield blamed the studio for how badly Amazing Spider-Man 2 turned out.
Yeah, I was seeing a lot of articles on it. I didn't really look into it.
Well, he was interviewed by the Daily Beast about his upcoming film 99 Heroes, and he said in response to a question about Spider-Man, quote, "For me, I read the script that Alex Kurtzman and Bob Orsai wrote, and I genuinely loved it. There was this thread running through it. I think what happened was through pre-production, production, and post-production, when you have something that works as a whole, and then you start removing portions of it, because there was even more of it than there was in the final cut, everything was related. Once you start removing things and saying, no, that doesn't work, then this thread is broken, and it's hard to go with the flow of the story. Certain people at the studio had problems with certain parts of it, and ultimately the studio is the final say in those movies because they're the tentpole, so you have to answer to those people," unquote. I think I see what he was saying. The studio probably wanted to remove certain parts of the story, which meant you had to remove other parts of the story, and then unless you have some really good writing at the end, then you end up with a mess.
Yeah.
And Garfield went on to say he took a post-mortem of the movie to find out what was going on. Quote, "What are people actually saying? What's underneath the complaint, and how can we learn from that? We can't go, oh God, we fucked up because all these people are saying all these things. It's shit. We have to ask ourselves, what do we believe to be true?"
Yeah.
I'm sorry, there was a mistaken punctuation mark in here. It goes on. It is that this is the 5th Spider-Man movie in as many years, and that's a bit of fatigue. Is that there was too much in there? Is it that it didn't link? If it linked seamlessly, would it be too much? Were there tonal issues? What was it? I think all that is valuable. Constructive criticism is different from people just being dicks, and I love constructive criticism. Hopefully, we can get underneath what the criticism was about, and if we missed anything. Unquote. And now, Sony, for its part, has already announced the Sinister Six movie, Venom, and Amazing Spider-Man 3 and 4, as well as an unspecified Spider-Man female character getting her own movie.
Right, but they did say that Sinister Six was being held back, right?
It was delayed, although it looks like it's still being worked on. They did. Somebody did mention in recent interviews that eyepiece. Remember the images on one promo that teased 6 of the Sinister Six, and one of them we couldn't identify was just this eyepiece. It looked like a mask. Turns out that's not a mask. It is going to be Mysterio.
Okay.
So there will be no women in the Sinister Six. Not that there ever has been, but it's good to actually get that laid out. Well, I should backtrack. The Beetle has been part of another version of the Sinister Six, but not a scary
not that
anyone
version.
officially recognizes. Scary? No. The female Beetle, she was kind of in the B ranks.
Way
that was a
in
Sinister
the
Six.
B-ranks.
Nobody wanted to talk about them as a Sinister Six. That was one Superior Spider-Man said, "You're not the Six."
Yeah.
James McAvoy got some bad news. Looks like in X-Men Apocalypse, Charles Xavier will be bald.
Oh, okay. So it's going to be Patrick Stewart.
Well, it's going to be bald Professor X, like it's meant to be. He confirmed that the film's going to take place in the 1980s, as we've previously heard and speculated. It's going to be set 20 years after First Class, 10 years after Days of Futures Past, at least in 1973 parts of it. So we're going to keep marching forward here. No real hint as to what the story could be yet. Bryan Singer does appear that he'll be back to direct this movie. And we all know Apocalypse is going to be in it, of course.
Yeah.
I wonder if there will be more time travel in this one, more people jumping back and forth. Please tell me there will be a Rachel Summers this time, please, please, please. One thing I was surprised about was that it was announced that Agent Carter is going to make an appearance in the season premiere of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Really?
Haley Atwell will be in the episode in some capacity, probably showing how S.H.I.E.L.D. started. Or at least the first notions of it. But, believe it or not, she's not the only character making an appearance from the former decade. Also appearing are the actors who played Agent Jim Morita, one of the Howling Commandos.
Right, I'm trying to remember which one he was.
Remember the small Japanese guy that had to tell
Right.
Dugan he was from
that's what I
Fresno?
was thinking about.
Yeah, well, he's not the only one making the appearance. The guy who pissed him off is coming too.
French guy? No.
Dum Dum Dugan himself.
Okay,
Right on.
okay.
Both of them are making appearances. Hopefully that means they're going to be in the Agent Carter show. I really liked their appearances in the first Captain America movie. I was really kind of surprised they made such a convincing Dum Dum too.
It really, yeah.
Now
It was a very convincing portrayal.
Yeah. They've also released an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2 cast photo. It involves all the previous players, including Brett Dalton standing far off to the right with his evil beard. But standing in the background are also three new characters. Nick Blood as Lance Hunter, Henry Simmons as Alfonso Max McKenzie, and Elizabeth Henstridge as Agent I'm sorry, she was already in there. So the two of them are actually in there. Ian DeCastecker is also seen in the background. He's the one who played Agent Leo Fitz. It's nice to see that B.J. Britt is also in this photo, the one who played Trip in the latter part of the series. Or latter part of the first season, I should say. So it looks like just about all the major characters are making appearances.
Yeah, I was kind of worried about how up in the air they left Fitz.
We'll see where that character goes. He could come back as the Team Vegetable for all we know.
That's what I don't want to happen.
Well, Alex Kurtzman talked about the plans for the Venom movie. He said that you can do things with Venom that you can't do with Spider-Man. They're planning to go much darker. We all know there are things that you can do with Venom that you can't do with Spider-Man. I think it had to do with dancing. At least from Spider-Man 3.
Okay.
He said that the Venom, quote, is the representation of every line that will get crossed, unquote. Sounds like they're going to go lethal enforcer on this one. I don't think you need to go through the lethal enforcer route. I think you can go straight to Agent Venom with the way the character is now. Because that's the best of both worlds. You have a character who's trying to do heroics, and every once in a while loses his mind and starts chomping on heads.
Have they said which version of Venom they're going to be using?
They haven't been that specific, so I don't really know. We'll bounce from there into DC media news. We've seen the sad Batman photos.
No.
You know, Batman looking pensive in front of like the. I know you've seen it by now. We've used it on the show. The first image we had of Ben Affleck in the Bat costume.
Oh, yeah,
one where he's looking down for no apparent reason.
Yeah.
And at that point, he was standing in front of the Batmobile. It was hard to see.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because of some leaks from the set, Zack Snyder decided to drop a Twitter bomb and release a picture of a full view of the front of the Batmobile.
Oh, is that? Yeah, I think I've seen that one.
I saw the leak pictures before this. This one is... I don't know. It actually looks like the tumbler is affecting all the Batmobiles that come after it. It's a mean-looking machine, I'll say that.
Yeah. My problem with Batman having these cars that look like this, I can't even really can't call it a car, but it's got these prominent guns and everything else on it, and I look at it and I'm going, okay, Batman and guns, really, guys?
It's happened more frequently than you think.
Well, I understand, but at the same time, it's like that's one of the things that just always threw me, that it seems hypocritical. They make such a big deal out of it, and then they do stuff like this.
Well, we also have to put it in context, though, because the story of Batman v Superman: Dawn of Justice, I hate saying all that out loud, frankly. The story is going to follow the Dark Knight Returns graphic novels, which was a future where Batman is older, not as physically capable, wearing giant armor half the time, and his main enemy wasn't street gangs, it was these mutants, like the 80s concept of what happens when we get too far in technology. So, I don't know how human the mutants were in that story, but he's dealing with a different class of villain. It's not the Joker and Penguin anymore. It's all these things that look like they're trying to rip people apart. So the concept has changed. For all we know, though, this Batmobile won't even make an appearance until Superman drops into the city and they start hitting each other. By then, I think you need the machine gun just to slow him down.
Superman.
Yeah, and you're also dealing with a guy that's smart enough that he packs a kryptonite ring in his pouch. You want to bet those things are depleted uranium?
Yeah, that might slow him down.
Guns are too small for depleted uranium.
It's supposed to be a future story. What the fuck? What do you want from me? Used to be that we couldn't have railguns or anything smaller than a battleship. Now they mount them on the back of trucks. It's official, though. Warner Brothers has said they're shopping around a Supergirl TV show.
They're also shopping around
Last week
for
it was a rumor.
Titans. Yeah.
No, they're not shopping that, but we'll get to that.
Okay.
They have said that they're looking to produce a TV show for Supergirl that's being EP'd by Arrow mastermind Greg Berlanti and Ali Adler. They're also the ones who made No Ordinary Family. The thing is, though, it's not part of any package deal, so the show could end up on any channel, which means it could be completely disconnected from the Arrow and Flash TV series, or actually, probably highly likely, I would say.
Yeah.
So it'll be a question. It's a question of what you want from a TV show, because I know what I would like to see from a Supergirl TV show, and before anyone asks, no, boobs is not high on the list. I would just say that to produce a Supergirl TV show, your budget would have to be pretty high for television.
Yeah, unless you go something similar to Smallville. They, avoided having to go through all of that just by kind of nerfing his powers back to childhood.
Which also neuters the character severely, and besides which, I don't think you want to come up with a TV show that feels like female Smallville. I think you need something different.
Yeah.
That's people would say if you did it. I understand what you're saying, and I get the arguments for it, but all they would say is, look, it's Smallville for chicks.
Right. No, I'm just that's the only way that I could see for them to avoid that.
Oh, the other way to avoid it, though, would be to go full-blown and go for an internet provider. Go Netflix or something, Hulu. That would lower some of the costs in shopping this around. But that's only a guess. And as Jesse said, DC is making a Teen Titans show, and they're not shopping it around. TNT's already picked it up.
Right.
Well, not picked it up, I should say final negotiations are happening. They're close to a pilot order. I
don't know either.
This would be another... Well, it's not that I don't know. It's just you have Arrow and Flash over at CW.
Mm-hmm. You
have Constantine, who I think is over at NBC. You have the Gotham show, which is now on Fox and Netflix. Then you have the Teen Titans show on TNT, and a Supergirl show that could end up anywhere. So you're going to put out 6-7 series now on different channels with almost no connectivity.
Yeah, I think that's a huge mistake. But
so do I. Especially since the Titan show would have to be disconnected because one of the most featured Teen Titans ever in comics is Wally West.
Actually, from my understanding, they're going with shoot. The composition that I read on one article didn't involve Wally West, but it had I know Nightwing and Cyborg are definitely going to be in this one.
Which is also kind of a bad thing because now Cyborg is part of the characters they're using for that Justice League movie. Yep. Nightwing would imply a Batman that you're probably never going to see. If you use Beast Boy, that means you're implying Doom Patrol, you'll probably never see. If you use Donna Troy, there's connections to Wonder Woman, probably never see. And the likelihood, since they're already doing a Flash TV show, is that this Flash is going to be either Wally West or Bart Allen.
It's Bart Allen.
Both of which have heavy connections to Barry Allen.
No,
so,
it's Barry Allen.
At that
Sorry.
point,
never mind.
Barry Allen, the Flash, the one they're using in the TV show?
Yeah, Barry.
Why would they put Barry Allen on 2 TV shows? Barry Allen's actually never been a Titan.
No, I'm sorry. He's going to be in the Flash series. Forget what I said. Never.
Okay. You almost threw me completely there. And then you have other characters who are somewhat popular. They're the only ones that are unconnected that I see in the picture on the Newsarama article are Raven and Starfire. They're the ones you could get away with right now. There's probably a host of other Titans characters. If you reach back, you wouldn't have to necessarily start digging into their legacies to major heroes to add them to the show. So why the fuck are we going here?
Popularity.
I think they're trying.
Well, no, it's just
they're trying to.
It's the universe building that bothers me. You have a chance to make a very interconnected, well-known, well-rounded universe, and Warner Brothers. I don't know about DC, but Warner Brothers is saying, "Fuck that! It's money, dude."
I think they're just trying to compete with. Oh, it's Warner Brothers, so never mind. I was going to say DC. They're trying to compete with Marvel, but DC would try to compete with Marvel, not Warner Brothers.
I kind of see it as Warner Brothers. They don't want to put all their eggs in one basket. They're throwing all this stuff out there, and they're seeing what works, and what works they'll continue with, and what doesn't, oh well, we'll get rid of it.
That's the thing,
but
though.
If they made it
in
interconnected, then even if something isn't working, it will be a lot harder to ditch that.
Not really.
It wouldn't be harder to ditch it because whatever's working from shows that weren't working, you could cannibalize and add to the rest of your universe.
Yeah, but I mean, you already raised the whole thing with changing out one actress in Arrow, and now you're just going to ditch an entire show. You can scavenge a little bit from it, but at the same time, it.
But that's not talking about changing actresses. It's like you said, if something doesn't work from a show, then you could use it in the rest of your universe. In this disconnected format, if it's a failure, it's just a plain failure. There's nothing to be gained or gleaned from it.
Other than, it's a failure, and we tried.
They're also not connecting. They're also not competing with Marvel because Marvel has not done much by the way of TV. They have, currently 2 TV shows connected to their movie universe, and then they're going to have 4 internet shows.
Right.
DC, it seems like, is almost banking on TV instead of movies.
Which, they've had success in, to be honest. I can think of at least 2 shows from my history.
They've also had tremendous failures that which is why it's taken them so long to get back to this. You remember the Birds of Prey?
No.
There you go.
Actually, I do remember the title. I never watched the show.
It was on for a season before it died. Actually, I don't know if it actually made it through the season now that I think about it. But it's one example. IO9 decided to put up an article of 8 things a Flash TV series needs to avoid from the comics.
I read this one.
I don't know how deeply I have to get into it. One is Barry Allen's love of Flash comics. I don't know anything about that. 2 is one I make fun of, the Cosmic Treadmill.
Yeah, I think they should avoid that one.
That's a pretty bad idea. 3 is overuse of time travel.
Yes, don't. Oh, God, don't.
Works pretty well for the X-Men. 4, I can completely agree with. The confusion behind the Speed Force.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like depending on the era, there's all these different ideas as to what the Speed Force does, is, and contains. You know?
At the same time, it's kind of the core of how he of his powers, to be honest.
It's the core of it, but it's one of those things that it almost defies explanation. I don't think you really need to try to get into it once you define it. Number 5, some of the Flash's more ridiculous powers.
Oh.
Most of these I had not heard of, but that's because I didn't read Flash comics. It says here that... I'll just read the article instead of trying to skim it. Quote, by which I mean significantly more ridiculous than time travel. Besides all the confusion and weirdness saddled onto the concept of the Speed Force, nothing is dumber than some of the powers it gives the various Flashes. Somehow, users can make solid constructs out of it. One Flash had the ability to sense when any object in the world moved, effectively granting him a bizarre form of ESP. The Bart Allen Flash could create duplicates of himself and then send them forward and backwards in time. The dumbest ability, however, has to be his power to create pockets on his uniform for holding things with speed. There's that's all they. It says here, quote, there is one completely awesome power that the Flash TV show should probably avoid as well. The infinite mass punch, where the Flash runs at top speed and punches something with the force of a white dwarf star. It sounds amazingly cool, but I feel like once Flash star punches something on the show, all we're going to do is wonder why he doesn't star punch everything, unquote.
Yeah. But building in my way, star punch. What?
They also said to avoid the Trial of the Flash, the Fiddler, which was a Flash villain who controlled people with a fiddle, and the Ouroboros of Barry Allen.
No.
You know, the death and rebirth that Barry Allen has gone through. So, yeah. I think that's a pretty viable list. We'll go to general media news. Man, we're marching fast today, aren't we?
That's good.
General media news is a little varied this week. One of the bigger ones was J.J. Abrams. He is not subtle. He's dropped another hint about Star Wars via note.
Yep.
This note says, quote, why do I suddenly have this desperate need to own a watch? Damn you, Apple. J.J. Abrams. The note has nothing to do with Star Wars. I sent you guys the image.
Oh, no, I've seen this.
What's behind the note, though, appears to have a lot to do with Star Wars.
It's the reflection.
Yes. Now, some people have pointed out that it seems to be a variation on the lights that were found all over the Death Star.
Yep.
So people are only guessing what this means right now. I hazard to guess. I mean, the movie is still, what, a year and a half from coming out?
He's doing a very good job of keeping the hype going, though.
Well, he's not the only one. IO9 actually had some recent pictures that appear to be taken overhead from the Star Wars set. I hope this means that people aren't going to start arming up with rocket launchers and saying, "Go! Get out of here, you scrub!" The interesting images were of a half-built Millennium Falcon, which is likely going to be a shooting set, and what appears to be a tarped-over and possibly blue-screened
X-Fighter?
X-Wing fighter. Yeah, it's an X-Wing. And it's not a Headhunter Z95, it's an X-Wing. Sorry. That whole thing from Hollywood Babylon is still stuck in my head. There you go. It's pretty easy to make out when you see it.
Yeah.
There's no hiding that. So, I guess the only question left is whether or not this Millennium Falcon will take a chomp out of Harrison Ford as well.
Hopefully not.
Yeah, hopefully you'll leave him alone. I almost wish V was here for this, because one of the former animators from Disney is working on a new project that he wants to kickstart via Indiegogo. And this I find interesting, and V would just kind of purr over this. Have you guys heard of the project Hullabaloo?
What? No.
Hullabaloo. The guy actually put a YouTube up for the Kickstarter. Would you like it?
Shoot.
It's a little under 4 minutes. We don't have to go through the whole thing, obviously. The reason why he's doing this is because he's tired of CG. He says that hand-drawn animation is a dying art, and he would like to put up an idea he's got. There, I sent it over. I've watched bits of this. I find it compelling.
Hello, my name
You can
is
see the
James
Disney
Lopez,
influence in his
creator
early
of
character
Hullabaloo.
designs, or at least his influence. But it appears it's going to be a steampunk-inspired adventure. My wife would go crazy for this. And how much you want to bet? If this gets successful, the cosplayers probably
What I'd
only
like to
take
do
about
is
10
combine
months
two of
before
my
they start
favorite
appearing.
things, 2D animation and steampunk. in a
You're being
project
generous.
called Hullabaloo.
And,
I've
I
been
mean,
worked
just in,
professionally in the animation
I was going to say,
industry
just in
for
the first
almost
40 seconds of the
25
video,
years.
it seems kind of compelling.
Most of those years.
I will be
I've
honest, I
been
do
busy.
kind of miss the old
I've
traditional
worked on several
drawn
projects
animation.
like The Lion King, Hercules.
I don't want to say I miss it. I have nostalgia about it. I remember it. I like it. I have nothing personally
Initially,
wrong
what I
Yeah.
with
do
it.
right now is
However,
to
just the
make a
technology,
short film with
for 3D is,
aspirations
in the long run, I
to
think,
expand
cheaper than
and
hand-drawn. There's
possibly
nothing else to
a
really
web
say about it in that
series,
regard.
television show, possibly even a feature if enough support gets behind
So,
it.
I like his designs. They're very...
feature
He does very good
animation,
steampunk.
show. But that requires
Some of it almost looked like
a lot of
Captain
people
Nemo's
to get
Nautilus tied to a
involved.
blimp
So I'm
in
really
certain
looking for
respects.
funds to help support them to get involved.
It does look like they'll
Well,
be
this
integrating
particular
some
production
3D
is
into
unique
it just for the
because
sake
it
of
involves
probably
hand-drawn
expedience.
animation,
Some
which
machines
I
would
hate
be a
to say
bitch to
is
drop a
actually
hand panel
slowly
after
becoming
panel.
dying art. And what I'm really looking to do is to create
Some of the main
a show
characters,
that
that
can
top
showcase
hat and the
the
bodice, is
best of
very
3D
good.
Animation.
Why is it that every villain in steampunk look like Snidely Whiplash?
I've been working for Disney for a very long time and other very big studios, and I've always had to work on somebody else's project. But for the first time,
Yeah, so this is the one of the
this
animators
is an
actually having his own
opportunity
project
me
for
to
once
get
instead
to
of giving
share
someone
my
else as a
story with
voice.
everyone and to entertain people.
What do you think? Is this something you guys would check out for
Yes,
yourself?
definitely.
They're really supportive
Okay.
about encouraging
Well, then,
me
in
to
that
take
case,
this
I
to
will
a
stop
larger
the
level.
video there for myself.
So,
You guys can keep
because of
listening.
that
I'll check in
support,
the
it's given me the
Indiegogo.
confidence
Maybe I should star this, frankly, because I think this is going to come up in the future. The Indiegogo for Hullabaloo. It ends in 17 days. It ends on August 20th. It ends on October 1st, beginning of next month. Has 6,900
Oh,
backers.
wow.
The goal to get the start is $80,000. Currently sits at $286,568.
Yeah, it's gonna be done.
Well, remember, he said in the video
It's-
that
yeah,
his
this is a
idea is
short.
for a series of shorts. It's for a series of shorts with a possibility to go full length if they get enough money. Let me see. Stretch goals: $140,000. They'll make a second Hullabaloo short called The Cheshire Cat, or Curse of the Cheshire Cat. At $160,000, they'll produce a full orchestra soundtrack for both shorts. $240,000, they'll make a third short called The Mysterious Island. So we're up to 3 shorts. $260,000, which they've passed. They now have orchestral soundtrack for all 3 shorts.
You know, it's really kind of a shame that there isn't more.
At $320,000, anyone who's done $35 donations or above will add a perk that gets a teacup charm added to your collection, like a charm bracelet.
We really need
$340,000, they make a 4th short. So I'm guessing if they can get somewhere to the tune of about $600,000, that might be enough to put together one feature-length film of this. They got a shot. The Kickstarter or the Indiegogo only started on August 27th, so it's only 35 days. And in less than half of that, they've already picked up 3.5 times goal. I think this is something worth following. Well, now that we're done with that deviation, there is another superhero that's being shopped around for a movie. And you'll never guess which is close to apparently getting a deal.
Okay.
Screenwriter David Goyer, who's the head of the DC movie franchise right now. And Zack Snyder has been interested in directing a movie based on awesome comics, Supreme.
What?
Supreme is one of those Superman allegory characters. Steve might remember him from the early days at Image.
Yeah.
He's got powers like Superman. He's white-haired. He's angry. The character only became bigger, though, when I think Alan Moore wrote a group of stories around this character and introduced what he called the Supreme family. You know, Lady Supreme, Suprema,
Right. Kid Supreme.
and I think the
Yeah.
dog. But it was also one of those things that made it notorious because he wasn't just ridiculously overpowered. He had full realization of what he was, and he was a dick.
Oh, he was such a dick.
Yeah, he was a lot of what we thought Superman would probably be. Oh, Radar the Hound. There was a dog.
Yep.
So Supreme may get his own movie.
Oh.
The article on Cinema Blend was kind of funny because it says towards the end, he's the Superman knockoff we need and also the one we deserve, especially if Snyder's Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice leaves a rubble dust taste in everyone's mouths.
Wow. That's kind of ballsy.
A bit, but I kind of agree. You know, Superman, with all the criticism we levy against him, if that movie fails, you know, Supreme could pick up where that left off and really kind of take off with itself, being the jerk. I mean, you know that Supreme would probably handle bad guys not by putting them in jail, but by balling them up and throwing them into the sun. We've talked back and forth, and we've seen the trailer to Kevin Smith's Tusk.
Yes. At
Yeah.
the Hollywood Babylon.
Mike, yeah, you guys had to dig for that one.
Yeah.
Not a big horror fan, so...
I would probably watch this, though. It seems like a good farce on horror. He took it and debuted at the Toronto International Film Festival. He got one Toronto Critics pick. The writer of the article is a lady named Thelma Adams. She was kind of funny about it. Quote, Smith took this strange but true anecdote and spun it into a serves him right thriller. Justin Long, who got his start in cheesy exploitation thrillers like Jeepers Creepers, stands in for Smith in the role of Wallace, an obnoxious get-a-laugh at anyone else's expense podcaster. Oh my god, he sounds like he wrote it about me. When he flies to Canada chasing a story of web humiliation, a teen accidentally amputates his own leg in a horrible YouTube video, Wallace tumbles into a spooky old house inhabited by a creepy sailor, Howard Howe, a wily Michael Parks, who promises lurid stories. Faster than you can say, don't drink the tea, Howe doses Wallace. The podcaster awakens sometime later, minus one limb. This is just the beginning, as Wallace finds he can't wisecrack his way out of captivity. He gradually becomes a subject of one of a grisly podcast-ready tales when Howe forces him to become a live-in, tusked and whiskered walrus. The transformation is not pretty, but the script cleverly delivers Wallace's comeuppance. Bolstered by a terrific cast, including Johnny Depp as a nearly unrecognizable French-Canadian sleuth, the daughters of Depp and Smith as convenience store clerks, Genesis Rodriguez as well as his long-suffering girlfriend, and Haley Joel Osment as his partner, the movie succeeds as a rare thriller that delivers things you haven't seen before. Wallace's evolution from ugly American to marine mammal is both grisly and profound as fate shakes the shallow man boy down to his psychological core. Unquote.
Mm-hmm.
I'm suitably curious about the movie, especially since he's making a trilogy out of it now. And no, that doesn't mean Tusk 2 and 3 are coming, Back to the Walrus or anything stupid like that. He found the characters played by his daughters of Canadian's convenience store clerks so compelling and interesting, Smith wrote an entire movie based around them. It actually wraps this week, if I remember correctly. And then from there, he's going straight into a third movie he's titled Moose Jaws, which he calls Jaws with a Moose.
I'm sorry, the image that called up was just too much.
I know. Second movie starring the girls, Smith's daughter Harley and Lily Rose, Johnny Depp's daughter. The two convenience store clerks is called Yoga Hosers.
Oh, I've seen a little bit of stuff for that.
Yeah. I'm curious to see the movie now.
I think it's one of them. Stan Lee's going to be have a small bit in it.
Oh, that wouldn't surprise me. Ever since Smith started making larger motion pictures beyond Independence, Lee seems to have some kind of small role in a lot of them. I think it's safe to say they're probably friends.
Yeah, I remember him putting up a tweet or something so he's having fun to direct Stan Lee once again after sitting Mallrats.
Yeah. Well, I want to see what John Depp looks like as Guy Lapointe. This could almost be in video game news, but I think it's more general media because the WWE is being sued, not by shareholders for once. They're being sued by Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk.
Oh, so he decided to go ahead with it.
Well, he's suing him for royalties from what he considers lost merchandise sales, not from him quitting, in the fact that the WWE was selling his merchandise up until last week.
Oh.
I don't think they paid him for that stuff since he walked away somewhere around... he walked away in January. I don't think he's been paid since March. So that's 4 months' worth of potential sales, which is very likely to have occurred since every once in a while I tune in and I still see CM Punk or We Want Punk chants on TV. But not only that, he's suing for use of his likeness in WWE 2K15, which is a game coming out next month. The next WWE game is supposed to feature some of their most storied rivalries. One of the centerpieces of that is a rivalry from about 3 years ago between Punk and Cena for the title, when Punk supposedly let his contract lapse on the day of his last pay-per-view when he won the title and ran away with it. I believe it was the Money in the Bank pay-per-view from 2011. He signed a new contract earlier before the show, so he came back just a few days, I think 2 weeks later, with the title in hand. But it was one of those stories that was big in wrestling at the time. However, I do think with this lawsuit, it's pretty much a sure thing that Punk is not returning to wrestling. At least not willingly.
Yeah.
Not the only WWE story that's in general media news. The network must not be doing well. The WWE is reportedly trying to sell their library of shows to Warner Brothers.
Oh, no, it was... I think we reported that it wasn't doing well.
Well, we reported prior that it only got half as many subscribers as they expected in general. The problem is, though, is that apparently it's just not going well enough, and now they're looking to sell their library of past shows to Warner Brothers, which is not a good sign at all. So it's bad news all around for the WWE. There is news that if another Dredd movie ever happens, it seems to be it would be a prequel. Carl Urban, the guy who played Dredd in the latest big screen adaptation, was at Chicago Comic-Con. He told MovieWeb, quote, "Why, yes, there is a definitive possibility. But it's more likely that we will do the origin story with Dredd trekking through the cursed earth to find the first Chief Justice, Fargo," unquote.
Interesting.
Which, Slash Film pointed out that jives with something they heard from writer-producer Alex Garland. Quote, "I think you could do a second film which is all about the city and the law and where it comes from, and judge Fargo and the pro-democracy terrorists and Dredd's struggle with the state that he's a part of. And then in a third story, you could bring in this crazy existential force that attacks the city in the form of the Dark Judges. They weren't right for the first film, but they might be right for the third, and it all depends on the journey you take in the second narrative," unquote. However, first somebody has to finance the movies.
Yeah, that would be a little important.
Yeah. In the vein of important, George R.R. Martin is releasing another book.
How soon?
Not soon enough, because this is not a Song of Fire and Ice book.
That doesn't actually surprise me.
It's going to be The World of Fire and Ice. It's going to be a prequel prologue telling the story of the first kings of Westeros. If you watch Game of Thrones, everybody who claims to be a king gives this long introduction, including like the first men and kings back to X and X dynasties and such like that. This will tell the stories of those first kings and who these monarchies are quoting. It's going to be available October 28th. You can pre-order it on Amazon right now for about $30. So you can at least get your fix of Westeros while he decides whether or not to work on the next book. Speaking of writers, the creator of The Walking Dead, Robert Kirkman, he said he knows exactly how the comic's going to end, just not when.
Of course he knows how it's going to end.
Well, according to a story in Entertainment Weekly, quote, "While Kirkman is not sure how many Walking Dead comics he has left in store, he did share one interesting nugget. He knows how it will end." Quote from Kirkman, "I do know what I'm building towards, yes. I don't know what exactly what issue that's going to fall on, per se, and I do have a lot of road laid out before that's going to take a long time, but I certainly know exactly what I'm building to," unquote. Oh my god, a writer that knows how the story's going to end. It had to happen sooner or later.
This is not news. Most stories know how their stories are going. It's all about how you get to it.
Yep.
Actually, that is kind of news because most comic books don't have endings. They just have, oh my god, we're canceled. Quick, write something short so we can get out of here.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, I'm thinking of it from a novel format. That is true. It's
Yeah,
a
me
comic
too.
book.
Yeah. And it's an ongoing comic, so the idea that there is an end is something different. Is anyone here a definitive fan of Doctor Who? I know for sure V is.
It's warming up to me.
I watch it.
Okay. There's going to be a collection of Doctor Who short stories released by Penguin Books. It's going to be an anthology of stories written by children's authors to include a new story for the 12th Doctor. The thing is, there's going to be stories about all 12 Doctors in there, and they have special covers for the books. I sent you guys a URL. Tell me what you think.
Oh boy.
It's not what you think.
Nice.
All 12 covers are of the jackets of the individual Doctors.
Ah! You know, I saw this awesome shirt. I forget where. I think Hot Topic.
It's an interesting idea. I'm sorry. I interrupted.
No, I was saying I saw this awesome shirt in Hot Topic. It's a Doctor Who thing where you show the 12th Doctor on there, but if you put in the dark, there are some glowing effects that show the previous Doctors around him.
Ah, okay.
I thought it was kind of neat.
Yeah, it's not bad. Well, this compendium of stories is called 12 Doctors, 12 Stories. It's going to be released in the UK on October 23rd. Now, I know that Jesse is a fan of Legend of Korra, the Avatar sequel series.
Not as big, but the third season did really liven things up a bit, sort of.
Okay, when do you think the fourth season's coming out?
October.
Yep, October 3rd. And the previous season just ended in late August.
Yeah,
So there's no waiting.
Yeah, I know.
There's already been an image release of what she's going to look, or what the main character is going to look like. They changed the hairstyle.
Oh, really? I didn't see that. But
Really?
No, I haven't. I saw the article. I was like, oh, cool. October. Okay. I'm looking forward to that. I'm looking forward to how they're going to end this.
Oh, here, shoot, hang on. I've already pulled the image. Give me a sec. They've shortened the hairstyle. The writers apparently wanted her to look older going into the next season to reflect all the things that have changed. Some people have argued that with this new haircut, she looks like a pissed-off preteen. They've obviously never dealt with women and how often their hairstyles change, have they?
Oh, she's not in a wheelchair anymore. Huh.
Yeah,
She did recover.
I didn't. I didn't want to say
Well, that
anything
wasn't
like
gonna
that because I was afraid it was too spoilerish. But yeah.
I mean, she wasn't going to stay in the wheelchair because the story is still about the central character.
Yeah, but the way they ended it and what implications I kind of took was that she was screwed up for life at that point.
Well, no, the implication I took was that she was feeling sorry for herself for a little while, but, a character as tenacious as the one they built isn't going to stay there. Just need some time to readjust is all.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that they don't do something like they did in the first season where the Avatar state comes back and heals her again.
Oh, frick, dude. Man, that would be too much. Last bit of general media news I got is that Disney is adding an attraction based on their animated film Frozen at the Epcot Center.
Okay.
They haven't said what specifically it is. They have said that it will replace the Maelstrom attraction at the Norway Pavilion. So it's supposed to be immersing you in some of your favorite moments in music from the film. It doesn't necessarily say ride or building or walk through. It doesn't say what specifically it's going to be. I mean, it's, despite criticism of it, it's still hard to argue that it's one of the biggest things that they've got going on right now. There's no reason not to take advantage of it.
Yeah.
So, it is what it is. We'll move on to Marvel comic news, which is one of the lightest things I've got this week. Probably because they're charging up for the Axis that begins next month. First part is actually an Axis-related story, and that is that the current Nova in comics, Sam Alexander, boy, does he have a problem. His big foe during the Axis event is going to be Kla, the inverted Hulk. I don't know if it's Cla or Clue, but either way, if you're fighting a pissed off Hulk, that's a bad thing.
He's got cosmic
Don't care who
powers.
you are.
I think he could take a few hits.
And the Hulk is a guy who doesn't need air and is also one who breaks planets, so they might actually be on even keel. The only advantage he really has is the fact that we found out recently in comics that what Sam Alexander has is a Black Nova helmet. And for you guys who probably weren't reading it and found out, the Black Nova, think of it as the admin version of Novas.
Oh.
They have near unrestricted access to the Nova Force. They don't have all of it contained in them like Richard Rider did, but they don't have many limiters.
So they could kick it up to 20 if
kid-
they have to.
Yeah, so the kid probably is much more powerful than he even has a concept of. But it gives him a shot, but still, if the Hulk wants you dead, we've seen what happens. Other bit of Marvel comic news I have is kind of a big one. One of the former head writers of The Daily Show is Elliot Callan, and he's taking over the Wolverine and the X-Men series, which obviously can't continue because Wolverine is dying in a few weeks.
Yep.
Instead, the series is going to feature a special guidance counselor that the Jean Grey School has hired to take Wolverine's place. The title of the series is now Spider-Man and the X-Men.
Oh, shit!
Not only that, he's going to be a special guidance counselor to some of the kids who have not had the best time going through the school. You know how certain ones have graduated, like Idiot and Pixie. They've become full-fledged X-Men, technically. They just don't have as much experience.
Oh, wow.
Well, Spider-Man is going to be counseling some of the kids who aren't doing as well, like the ones who haven't graduated yet. Rockslide, Shark Girl, Blob Herman, iBoy, No Girl, Hellion, and Ernst.
Who better?
Not only that, it gets better. He has to take on a special project, one graduated X-Man who isn't doing too well, Quentin Quire.
Fuck.
Yeah, good luck with that one. The only thing that's going to concern me is how Spider-Man is going to deal with all of the Bamfs running around. The mini Nightcrawler demons, the ones that teleport. That's going to be a nightmare.
Until he was when he gets teleported with it somewhere.
Just don't... arguably, don't bring whiskey if you want to keep it. Bring whiskey if you want some quiet. For the Bamfs, not for the kids. Yeah, we have DC comic news. First one is one that makes me groan. The DC Comics co-publisher, Dan Didio, he's hinted that a new 52 Crisis is coming.
Okay.
Well, when I say that, I mean, in the 80s there was an event that kind of defined DC Comics as the major force, the Crisis on Infinite Earths. In the 2000s, there were two Crisis events that happened that kind of diluted them rather seriously, and that was the Infinite Crisis and Final Crisis. Both of which I thought were kind of failures because they weren't very good jump-in points for DC. If you didn't already know a serious amount about their universe, you were lost. Now they're going to have another version of that happen in the New 52 era. And it may coincide with, I think, the 30-year anniversary of the original Crisis on Infinite Earths. All I can say is, fuck, stop. Fuck, stop. It doesn't help. Especially it doesn't help that one of the major events they're talking about is the Anti-Monitor versus Darkseid. It's like two of the villains I care the least about in DC.
Yeah, well, I'm sure there are others that do like them, so...
I know they got fans and everything. It's just, it's really hard for me to find a point where I want to get involved. I mean, the co-publishers also promised an epic trilogy between Future's End, Earth 2 World End, and whatever this event that's coming is, which may be the Crisis.
Okay, so DC fans will probably enjoy it.
Anybody already reading it will definitely enjoy it. If you're not already reading it, there's not much I can say. It's like the lead-in between the 52 weekly series all the way through to Infinite Crisis. By then I was so burned out I just didn't care. Which is what they're doing right now with Future's End. However, it is being rumored right now that the new Power Girl that's recently appeared, Tanya Spears, who's called one of the most intelligent 17-year-olds on the planet and the daughter to the former assistant of Power Girl, may be joining the Teen Titans. Kenneth Rocafort, who's the artist on Teen Titans, showed a partially obscure picture that included the new Power Girl. So it's possible she's joining the roster. I don't know what she would bring to the series since they already have Superboy, but arguably they could use some other characters on there to help stir things up. The Teen Titans has not been a strong seller recently for DC Comics.
Well, last I recall with Superboy, he was kind of in and out of the team because of his own series.
Well, that series is over now, though.
Okay.
And remember, we also discussed I think it was last week or 2 weeks ago, how Superboy may be involved in a relaunch of the Gen 13 series.
Yeah. I think we discussed that last week.
So if he's going to be in that, then arguably they're looking for another, Paragon type character for the Teen Titans.
Yeah, I think
because Wonder Girl in this current formation wouldn't be it. So it could add something very different to the series. We'll just have to see. And then, of course, Jeff Johns is talking about the Dark Side War and the Anti-Monitor. Oh, fuck.
Well, he did wonders with Aquaman, so let's see what he can do with this.
He did pretty good with Green Lantern in the beginning, too, but I think overkill is a problem with Jeff Johns' writing in certain respects. At some point, he makes everything so much more powerful, it's like dealing with... It's like Green Lantern. Everything was ring slingers all of a sudden, and that's when I got bored and backed out of it again. You know what I mean? Right now, he's writing something in the Justice League called the Amazo virus.
Oh, crap.
Yeah. Johns also confirmed that the current Power Ring will be a Justice League member. And an actual Green Lantern will also return to the League, but he didn't say which one. Please say it's Guy Gardner. Please say it's Guy Gardner. Please say it's Guy Gardner. We can move into general comic news, which is also very short this week. The first part I have is that we have a homeless ninja fighting skateboarder series called Street Angel. It's coming back to print. It was the first major work from an artist named Jim Rugg, who's been everywhere from the Adventure Time comic to Victory, and all sorts of variant covers. It's being reprinted in hardcover form by Ad House Books. Single issues will come out through Monkey Brain Printing. According to Rugg's attempt at an explanation to Newsrama.com, quote, Street Angel is a young homeless kung fu master whose weapon of choice is a skateboard. She lives in a terrible neighborhood that is overrun with comic book villains like mad scientists, street ninja gangs, time-traveling pirates, demons. When she's not saving the world, she's scrounging around for food and occasionally even goes to school. The tone of the book bounces around between comedy and action-adventure. The book collects a number of stories in strips of various lengths. It shares some qualities with young adult fiction, for example. There are fantastic parts. The protagonist is a young teenager, and it's more sincere than ironic, unquote. He's got my curiosity with that description. I admit, I've never heard anything quite like that.
I have, but it usually didn't, sound good or end up being good.
Main weapon being a skateboard was kind of the sentence that made my ears perk up and go, really?
That's where mind waves went down. I was like, really? Oh. I mean, this guy...
And you call yourself a Ninja Turtles fan.
Hey, I watched the original. I still like the 2003 version better. So, meh.
Another general comic news we have is that superheroes get slapstick, according to Newsrama.com, in a series called God Hates Astronauts.
Okay.
It's coming back. It was originally a web series that was collected by Image Comics last year. Brown is returning with a new volume with new stories, and it's going to be an ongoing launching in September. Now, God Hates Astronauts follows a series of the farcical superheroes of Power Person 5, a NASA-supported team whose mission is police outer space, but who have just as much, if not more, problems policing themselves. In the new series, the team is set to staunch a group of farmers aiming to use rocket-powered silos to farm in outer space. What the blue fuck?
Sounds like we got assholes trying to police assholes, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, one of the images I see here early on is what looks to be an astronaut riding a horse, hitting a cow in a NASA space uniform that looks like a superhero, with a horse punching him in the balls while it's drinking a bottle of beer. This is fucking confusing.
I don't even know.
I'm having trouble putting this into fucking words. I seriously am. This is very bizarre.
Show, don't tell.
Okay, it's two guys. One of them is on a horse drinking a beer. The other horse is punching balls. This is so fucking weird. Maybe they're the space farmers. I like the action onomatopoeia back there of Kerflode. This is freaking weird. Okay, I'm going to have to follow this. I got to see this.
Yep.
I'll pass.
Yep.
Okay, last bit of general comic news I have is that New York Comic Con may come with not just the cast of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., it may also come with a... well, I mean, by the time New York Comics Con comes out, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. will already be on TV. Mm-hmm. The cast is going out there for sure. But the cast of Marvel's Daredevil is coming, and there may be some kind of sneak viewing of footage from Daredevil. That, I would say, would be big news. Because that's going to set the tempo for everything else that comes after it, including the Defenders. Disney's also bringing Big Hero 6 and Tomorrowland with them to New York Comic Con. Lucky bastards. Believe it or not, I have a lot of anime in Japan news this week.
Oh boy.
Okay.
First time for everything, right? First off is a teen girl from the U.S. She's from Pasco County, Florida. She tried to kill her entire family.
Okay.
She's 14 years old, and she was inspired to do it after reading a volume of the manga Soul Eater.
Really?
Good lord.
Wow.
Yeah, she started a fire in her garage around 2 a.m. as her family was asleep, and then she snuck out. Her mother and her 9-year-old brother safely escaped. And then she randomly started sending her mom apologies via text messages, like, quote, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I didn't know why I did it, and did any of you get hurt?"
Yeah.
Soul Eater is a series about a living scythe and a weapon meister. Other than that, I don't know much about it, honestly.
I never got into it.
Yeah, me either.
So, it's one of those weird things. It's like Catcher in the Rye. This told me to shoot Reagan. Well, Soul Eater apparently told her arson. Fucking stupid people, right?
Yeah, I still maintain that stupid people do stupid shit. It has nothing to do with what they're reading. They would have gotten it from somewhere.
Yeah. Okay, now I have a question for you. What did you guys think of the visual representations of the Guardians of the Galaxy in their movie?
Visual representations as in...
Yeah, how they look.
No, you're not going to that thing from Japan, are you?
I have to. There's an anime series in Japan called Marvel Disc Wars, where a bunch of kids have power discs that somehow are containing some of Marvel's mightiest heroes.
Yeah.
But in a recent twist, the Guardians of the Galaxy are going to show up there, and I have to ask, what Pokemon replaced Rocket Raccoon?
I think that's like the worst.
I sent you the URL so you can tell me. Gamora looks way too calm back there. Star-Lord looks like he's been stealing Robin's hair gel. Drax? All I can say about Drax is steroids are bad.
Yeah, they totally animated this up. Way bad.
I wouldn't even say they animated this up. They just
Flanderized the characters.
Actually, I know exactly what's wrong with Rocket Raccoon. He looks like what Eric Cartman envisions he thinks he looks like in the Coon costume.
His head is way too big.
Yep.
Yeah. The gun is way too small.
Yeah. I don't... It looks like bad art to me.
It's what they're going with.
Okay.
So I'm glad I don't watch the series. We knew that when we started talking about the Oculus and had a great interest in it, that stupid things were coming. That was a given, right? Well, remember there was a video of Oculus capabilities in Japan that was all about trying to peek and look at a schoolgirl? I think I showed that to you guys.
I don't remember that.
She would get nervous if you started staring at her skirt. She would cover her chest if you looked at her breasts. Well, somebody is developing a game complete with a physical allegory so that when you reach out to touch a schoolgirl, you're actually grabbing boobs.
Right. Okay.
Of course, it's one of those stupid mousepad-looking things with the gigantic chest where you're supposed to rest your arm. Think bigger.
I don't even.
Only in Japan.
Yeah. The simulator is going to use a leap motion pressure sensor, a Rift headset, and a Arduino control board and a mouse pad with breasts. Fucking A, people.
They spent this amount of effort on, curing some, dangerous disease. We may actually be able to cure some people.
They spent this amount of effort on different technologies. We could have giant robots already.
Yeah, we're halfway there.
Here's something. Here's something I didn't know about. Japanese porn is running out of male porn stars.
I don't care.
There's a man whose name is Shimiken. He's been dubbed Japan's king of adult video actors. He's been in over 7,000 adult movies during 16 years. And according to him, the reason for that is there's not enough male performers in Japan. There's only about 70 or so adult male stars, according to him. That's less than the number of Bengal tigers in the country. However, there are over 10,000 adult video actresses. There's over 4,000 releases every month, and the number of male actors is just not enough. I'm sorry, there's 4,000 videos every month? That number seems awfully high to me.
How many guys? 60? 70? 70 and 40.
Yeah, so that means they have to put out roughly 70 videos apiece per month to help these adult video actresses put out movies.
I got
All
it.
I can say is if there's that
outsourcing.
Oh no, they use tentacles.
You think it's time to tap the foreign labor market?
No, they already have live action tentacle porn, so yeah.
That would be roughly 70 to 100 videos per male.
Fuck.
Wow, I would wonder if any of them had genitals left after that kind of work schedule. The figures could be misleading, though. Of course, this is coming from one guy. I don't know what the actual statistics of it is. But this man, Shimiken, via Twitter, is encouraging men to enter the profession. Has he... has he seen what kind of men watch these videos?
I can only picture in my mind this poor man, pretty much skin and bones, just screaming out, "Help!"
Well, Shimiken's in actually fairly good shape. Some of the Twitter responses are actually funny. Quote, "The salary is probably just your commuting expense to the shoot," unquote. Quote, "Instead of muscular actors like Shimiken, I like flabby old dudes," unquote. Quote, "Man, this line of work really seems like it would hurt your weenie," unquote. Quote, "That's amazing that they can perform surrounded by a camera crew," unquote. Quote, "In the adult video world, actresses are the queens and the male performers are simply underlings," unquote. That sounds like fantasy talk to me. Quote, "I think this might be harder on the male actors. Gotta respect them for that," unquote. Quote, "I couldn't do this if my co-star had bad breath," unquote. And the last one is great. Quote, This Shimiken guy seems all right," unquote. Yeah. Well, Sega's making a new sandbox game, and it's a sandbox.
Okay.
The Japanese name is Ederu Sanaba. The loose English version of that is the Surprising Sandbox. This is an arcade game that actually has a sandbox in it, and real-time projection mapping, so kids can make all sort of cool things in the sandbox. I have a video here I have not viewed. Would you like it?
Sure.
Sure.
It's about 4 minutes long, and I admit, my curiosity about this is piqued. Wow, that's a squeaky girl. I see a bunch of kids playing with wet sand in some kind of projection box. Oh, wow. Okay, so as they dig furrows, the projection from over top shows water like you would at the edge of a sandy beach. If they push mounds of sand back over it, it'll cover it up like you would water at the beach.
Fish and little crabs and all kinds of other stuff.
Yeah, it's an interactive projector system like you see on the floors of some malls. That's interesting. I wonder if it'd be difficult to keep sand in these machines. I mean, U.S. U.S. fans, unfortunately, have a lot less respect for personal or public items than the Japanese do, I think. I don't know if this would be possible in U.S. places.
Yeah.
I also wonder how that sand stays moist. It looked like it builds pretty well. That's interesting. Boy, this would be the type of thing that if it worked well, I'd like to see this in Chuck E. Cheese, frankly. That would keep kids engaged for hours.
Yeah, you know they wouldn't let. They took the ball machine out. Or the ball playpen. They'd have the same kind of problems.
Probably. I mean, but kids pee in the ball pen.
Yeah. Well, what makes you think they wouldn't pee in the sand? Oh no, it's drying out.
Actually, that's an excellent point. I hadn't thought about that. I'm going to stop it there, but that's suitably interesting technology. Yeah. Just too bad that we're too stupid to use it. Have you ever wanted to walk on a set that looks like an image from Studio Ghibli?
No, can't say that has been one of my wishes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to send you guys a link because there's a park in South Korea that has built several stages you can walk onto and take photos of and with, apparently. They've got images here from Spirited Away and My Neighbor Totoro. These are actually pretty cute. I could see taking kids to this and just having a fun time.
Like South Korea. Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
They've done some really good work here.
Oh, yeah, wow.
I could take kids to this. This would be fun to wander around.
Yeah, maybe visit some cousins over there, too.
Near the bottom of it, you can see a map of some of the interactive places. It looks like 2 or 3 sets from Spirited Away, 1 or 2 from Totoro. I'm guessing Princess Mononoke probably figures into this. I think that's where item number 4 is.
And there's the castle.
Yeah. And you can also sit with a no-face on the train towards the end of Spirited Away. This is pretty cool.
Mononoke.
Oh, there's Howl's Moving Castle. The castle itself.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? There's Princess Mononoke. Scroll down underneath that. This is pretty bitching. I could wander through this.
Oh, yeah, me too. Any excuse to go to South... I don't need much of an excuse to go to South Korea, actually.
No, just a passport. Remember months ago, I think almost a year ago, we reported on the Prince John Sailor Moon lingerie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Or, not Prince John, Peach John, the company that put out Sailor Moon-inspired bras and panties.
And
they've done it again.
Really?
Yeah. They're putting it back. They're re-releasing the Sailor Moon bras and underwear because, of course, those were big sellers for them. Not only that, they've expanded their cast. They're also adding Chibi Moon, Sailors Uranus, Neptune, Pluto. They're going the entire galaxy. Not only they're re-releasing it, they're also re-releasing the underwear with skirts and chokers to go with it. So now you have a full set and can just totally do a naughty Sailor Moon all together. The pre-order hasn't even started yet. I think the pre-order starts on the 17th. Of this month. You can get the set for 75.38 yen or $71 US.
Really? That's all?
Yeah, you can pre-order it. They'll be released next year. So if you have any girlfriends, now's the time to pre-buy. Do you guys want to see?
Yeah.
Sure, why not?
No, I mean, with the skirts it actually seems more demure than their previous releases, which was just the bras and panties with the fukus on them and the bows. I mean, it's not anything you'd necessarily wear in public, although I saw a couple people wearing the Peach John lingerie at this year's Anime Expo. And I guess now the bows are not directly connected to the back of the panties anymore. They're on the back of the skirts. Oh, hey, if it sells, it sells.
And looks like they got...
John expanded it a bit because now you can get the schoolgirl uniforms for each of the first 5 sailors and the dark lady dress that the Sailor Chibi wears when she's full adult. You can get those for varying prices, usually somewhere around $130, it looks like.
And at the bottom, I think that's the Moon Princess's dress.
Yeah.
God, I feel horrified that I know that much.
Oh my god, that means you could dress up in the costumes and then strip for your boyfriend.
You didn't arrive at that conclusion already?
I didn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about it. It's a combination of being married and just, having sex. I hadn't really thought about it in that format. What? It wasn't busy or anything. I just hadn't put that much thought into it. I was also busy with the fact that Attack on Titan is back in production already.
Okay.
The anime?
Season 2 is in the midst of its work. They're also releasing some OADs and OAVs for the releases of the mangas Volume 15 and 16. They're supposed to be a prequel into the story of a character called Levi. Is that the central character of the series?
No idea.
I don't know. I don't think any of us follow it.
I know I don't with any certainty. I did check out the trailer for the new stuff. It did catch my interest because it shows a city underground where I guess Titans are having trouble getting to it. The enemies, though, aren't the Titans. It looks like a bunch of people in this 3D motion gear fighting amongst themselves. I tried watching a bit more of the dubbed anime series last night since I was up late and Adult Swim was on. Yeah, I'm still not into this. The Japanese have shown that they can try and make a robot out of anything, and it's fucking weird.
What is it this
I'm going to
time?
send you guys...
Yeah, go.
You sure you want this? Because they've made a new animatronic out of a property I wasn't looking to make one out of, although it makes sense now that I put a little thought into why they did this.
I am morbidly curious, but your tone makes me hesitant.
Okay, well, I sent you guys a link.
That Rocket Raccoon?
That is Rocket Raccoon.
Hold on.
Not only is it Rocket Raccoon, someone's talking to it, and it's answering in Japanese.
An error.
It is... The animatronic looks fairly good. It'd be better if the body moved a little bit. Makes it kind of creepy with how static it stays when it's not active. It's also weird to hear this deep Japanese voice come, reverberating out of this thing.
Well, it kind of reminds me of, what was that thing that we saw at San Diego Comic-Con, that huge monster?
Oh, that thing. It didn't have a name. It's just some guy brought it. I guess it does remind... I guess it's probably like that, yeah. Probably some other guy talking through it. Last bit of anime in Japan news I have is something that we already knew, but other people, I guess, are just starting to key into this. An agency is suing two of its idols.
Because...
the agency in question is... Well, hang on. Don't bury the lead. The agency is suing two members of its band, Ayoma Seihachi Mecha High School, or Mecha High for short. They took umbrage at the sudden departure of two of their members, 19-year-old named Miho and 22-year-old named Sena. The reason why they're suing them is not just for leaving. They're suing them because these two girls are dating.
Each other, or...
They're dating fans.
Oh.
They apparently met individually, fans of their band, and they started dating, struck up a relationship, and now they've decided to leave. The production company is suing them, not for the leaving, for the dating.
Because they were under contract not to, or something?
Yes. Quote, the parents of these two girls signed a contract stipulating no romantic relationships with fans and no abandonment of the workplace. They have betrayed the other members and all the fans. It's not something we can forgive, unquote. The parents signed a contract that says that their daughters basically can have no personal lives of their own.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Well, it does surprise me that the production company is suing these two people, the people they're dating, and their parents for a total of 8.2 million yen. There's been surprising reaction by the internet community on this, who basically said, quote, so idol equals slave, basically.
Yeah. The property, anyway.
Another one said, quote, what is this, some Yakuza brothel, unquote. It's going to be hard to enforce trying to prevent people from having a personal life.
Yeah. It's one of the things that, I've never really liked about the industry. It turns you into an object, and you have no personal life.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm a bit appalled by it. I'm trying to find words.
Well, I hope they get out from under it, because that could... It wouldn't end the industry, but at least it might end practices where people are treated like meat. Not even meat, actually. They're treated like those cheap anime figurines you buy for $20. We have nerd interest news, and most of it's technologically based. There's a new image of what DARPA is working on, and it might be a new high-speed tank.
Ooh.
It's not what I ever expected to see.
Really?
Do you want do you want the minute concept video, or do you want pictures?
Pictures.
The concept pictures is interesting because it doesn't work on treads. It would work on wheels.
Huh.
picture doesn't exactly tell you what it is.
Look,
I'm going to send you the video link.
it kind of reminds me of a warthog.
It's actually more versatile than that. I'm going to send you the link to the concept video because I find that much more interesting, and it's a better example of what this thing is. I like how it begins with a DARPA logo. We built this to blow you up.
America.
So at the 10-second mark, the idea of this concept is agility. See the guy with the RPG? Watch this. He's going to fire that rocket. And the idea is that this thing will detect, react, and move armor plates.
Huh.
So those weird roll bars you see on it are extra armor that it will apply depending on the projectile. I almost have a question of what would happen if that system fails. And now you see one coming from the front where there is no extra plating, and it does this. Sudden acceleration. Interesting idea. I hope everybody stays strapped in while this thing is rolling. Imagine trying to get something out of the back in sudden acceleration.
It's
And then it dies under a tank shell. So this is the concept of the GXV-T tank.
It's a great concept, but yeah,
I don't know how
show a
practical
computer
it would be.
simulation.
Yeah.
If it works, it's very practical. But I just
It's probably lighter and cheaper than what we have
is not
currently.
necessarily how practical, but how feasible.
feasible.
They're working on the design right now, and the period for them to turn in a concept design is 24 months. So they have time to try and figure this out. China is building a robot, which is probably another example of Chinese intellectual property laws, or lack thereof.
Was it a Gundam?
This was introduced at the 2014 Beijing International Emergency Rescue Expo. Does this look familiar to you at all?
Oh.
Yeah!
I was just watching a link.
Yeah, this is very similar to the Boston Dynamics YouTube video of the Big Dog robot. The only thing different is it's covered in camo, really. It looks like they just wrapped the entire thing in camouflage. They didn't even try to really disguise it.
Yeah, very imaginative, though, them Chinese.
Yeah. Well, there's another story on Geek Exchange that says scientists have found the tiny, tiny part of the brain that controls your desire to exercise.
Really? Can you turn mine on?
Probably. Researchers have found in mice that this area of the brain controls the mice's desire to run and participate in other kinds of rewarding actions. They're studying the role of the dorsal medial hebenula.
Lots of scientific words.
In the regulatory... Yeah, it's in the regulation of voluntary activity, motor function, hedonic state, and primary reinforcement. They stimulate one part of the brain, and the mice were more likely to exercise. Dude, when they do human trials, Jesse, we got to sign you up.
I think they won't find mine.
I'm worried that if I sign myself up, even though I'm a bit bigger, they'll probably look at it and go, "Man, this thing is swollen to the size of a grapefruit. Get out."
Oh.
There's a new robot, not a new robot concept, but they're putting it through trials. There is a flexible robot that can walk through acid, fire, and ice.
Huh.
I don't know what this thing is made out of. They call it a soft robot, and I wonder what their definition of soft is. But the video was released way back in 2011. The story was kind of recycled on the Inquisitor. According to the article, it's a boneless robot that you could beat with a hammer 100 times over, and it would still keep walking.
I think I've
The concept is...
seen something like that.
Well, the video link is only 2 minutes, and it's creepy to look at. It almost looks like a slug that's trying to get up and walk. There it is. It's got this bizarre, almost X-shaped design. Oh my god, that's weird to look at.
Come on.
Well, you got a commercial? No.
Really?
Let me know what's...
Air it out.
Okay. So...
You can see it kind of sliding itself forward there. It's almost like it's doing a very slow version of the worm.
Yeah.
Probably air pockets.
More than likely, but this thing can apparently take fire, acid, and ice.
It might be
You know what it kind of reminds me of is like a tapeworm.
Yeah, that's a bit disturbing.
Now, look, it's about to try and get underneath that barrier there. Now it looks like some kind of person in a bad suit. It's bizarre to watch. Isn't it?
Yeah, it's
undulating under
Yeah.
that thing. According to the story, it's made out of silicone rubber. It can function in sub-zero temperatures down to negative 9 degrees Celsius, 40-kilometer winds, puddles of up to 5 centimeters, water, and 3,000 degree Kelvin methane flames for up to 50 seconds. It is amazing that its durability. It's still very strange. I would never want to see this come to rescue me because I would just walk away from this thing.
Aliens!
Yeah. There is an Australian researcher who worked out how to store 1,000 terabytes on a single CD.
CD or DVD?
Dr. Zhang... CD.
CD.
Dr. Zhang... Yeah, Zhang Sung Gan is a researcher at Swinburne University of Technology in Melbourne. He's found a way to take optical storage devices like CDs and is using that technology to help data storage keep up with demand. He can now fit 1,000 terabytes or 50,000 high-def movies onto a DVD. That's fucking frightening. He's been awarded one of the 12 Victoria Fellowships in 2014, which is going to help him incorporate his research into mass storage devices.
Damn.
That's crazy.
Man, CDs can come back in a big bad way if this works, couldn't they? He's supposed to be using 2 light beams with different abilities. The scientists managed to whittle down the point of light to writing the data to just 9 nanometers across, or 1/10,000th the diameter of human hair.
Means we gotta redo a lot of technologies in order to make that work properly.
Maybe. I don't know if it would require a different reader. I don't know if readers were more adept than writers. Interesting. According to a story on IO9 by Ether Inglis Arkell, black holes don't fizzle out. They don't die. It does something even stranger than that.
Like what?
I'm not quite sure. They seem to have an apparent horizon. The edge of a black hole causes quantum effects to go wild. Virtual particles pop into being, causing the apparent horizon to fluctuate. So the black hole appears to flicker. It sounds like it breaks down into something called Hawking radiation. The black holes will slowly shrink. So black holes may actually waste away over time. I never pictured that. We always heard of them as these megaliths that just grow and expand and eat everything. If they shrink, then that means the universal death model would have to be rethought, wouldn't they?
I would think so.
And archaeologists have made a discovery at Stonehenge. There's actually a lot more stones than they previously thought.
Really?
Yeah, they found a megalith monument made up of more than 50 giant stones buried along a C-shaped enclosure over 1,000 feet long. They were using some radar, ground-penetrating radar to image the entire area around Stonehenge, and actually found there's a lot more stones out there.
So there might be
Not immediately at Stonehenge, but they're all over the landscape. So there may be actually something much larger out there, and all the stones seem to date back to around 2500 BC. That's interesting.
Yeah, very fascinating.
Keep learning more and more about our own planet.
Apparently, we were a lot smarter back then too. Or
Yeah, I would say so.
Ingenuity. And we had a lot more ingenuity back then.
Yeah. The last part of general nerd interest stuff I have is that there's a laptop that can enhance its own power by plugging into a base system.
Base?
It's MSI's new GS30 Gaming Shadow notebook takes a slim laptop design, and if you plug it into a tower or a base at home, it ups its graphical power.
Really?
Yes. It has 16 gigabytes of DDR3 RAM and an Intel Core i7 processor. You plug it in the base, you can up its power so that it functions as a home system. Last we have is our What the Fuck corner, where we ask about the strange stories we find all across the internet. The USA basketball team. Whoa. The USA basketball team has been in Slovenia playing for the World Cup Championship of Basketball. One of the players is named DeMarcus Cousins, and they were playing Slovenia not too long ago. One of the Slovenian journalists decided to ask a question in one of the usual attempts to make U.S. athletes into these big dumb monsters, like a lot of people do. Even people in this country attempt that once in a while. I had to laugh because at one point, the Slovenia journalist decided to ask the question of, can you find Slovenia on a map of an athlete named DeMarcus Cousins? Cousins, instead of sitting there taking it, he had the best response. Quote, "No, do you know where Alabama is?" Unquote. That's a pretty decent report.
How's your geography?
Pretty much, yeah. And Slovenia is not the easiest place for people from outside the country to find. It used to be part of a Yugoslavia. So it was a nice turnaround moment. Remember last week we talked about a Chinese boy who lost his mind over television?
Yes.
Okay, we have the opposite this time. A Chinese boy was washing his hands in the Jiangsu River, or Jiangsu Province, Laozolin River, and he found a 3,000-year-old bronze sword.
Wow.
He's an 11-year-old named Zhang Zhenxi, and he was playing near the river and accidentally touched the sword's tip while he was washing his hands. Brought the sword home. His family sent it to local officials at Gaoyu Cultural Relics Bureau, and some people offered to pay high prices to buy the sword.
Money.
Apparently, the father of the boy felt it would be illegal to sell the relic.
Yeah, if it was... Depends on who's offering to buy it. If it's
a government, then go for it, dude.
Yeah.
Improve your lives. It's not likely the kid's going to enjoy the sword, so why not? Just make sure he gets a big cut of it. I mean, shoot. Here's something I didn't expect. There's a new kind of baker's yeast that gets you high.
A what?
The new baker's yeast. That gets you high.
Okay.
Bioengineers are on the cusp of creating a modified form of baker's yeast that basically acts the same as poppy seed opium.
Why?
Because it would take a lot less than a meth lab to create. It would take something more similar to a brewery, which is something you could easily contain in the corner of a garage. Which suddenly brings up the idea of like Hank Schrader or Schraderbrow from Breaking Bad, frankly.
But is it safer?
Fuck. Actually, that's a good question. I don't know. Most drugs usually come with enough side effects and none of them are technically safe.
Or even the production, because meth labs kind of tend to burn down.
Yeah, but like I said, you wouldn't need meth lab equipment for this. You would need something closer to home brewery, which a lot of people do.
Which is why I'm saying...
It's not prone to exploding, but it's still prone to, fires.
Yeah, messes are more likely than explosions.
Yeah. With brewing, you're more likely to burn down the facility you've stored the equipment at.
Yeah, and the other thing is that growing yeast doesn't require any actual land to grow the product. So this could be a serious problem if people don't figure out how to get ahead of it. Here's something I never expected to say. One of the Power Rangers has been arrested.
Which one?
32-year-old Yatsumoto Ihara had a career of acting in Power Rangers and Kamen Rider TV programs in Japan.
Oh shit, really?
Yeah, according to Sankei News, Ihara was able to use stuntman know-how to climb up the sides of houses or shimmy up telephone poles to enter the second floor of homes.
So he was a cat burglar.
Yeah, he was a robber. He was arrested.
Oh,
Wow.
damn.
Charges have been filed with the public prosecutor against him for breaking into allegedly 43 private residences, stealing 8.2 million yen. Or, in the U.S., that's $77,000.
Damn.
And it wasn't cash. That was a combination of money and valuables. 5 years earlier, Ihara had to retire from his Power Rangers and Kamen Rider stunt work. He injured his knee.
Huh.
Kind of sad, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, some scientists have decided to reveal the kinky secrets of whale sex.
No.
It says here that whales are apparently amazing lovers.
I'll take your word for it.
Oh, let me see. This was happening. Where was this? I don't know. It doesn't say here where the study was. I think it's the people who run the journal called Evolution. Quote, people really know that the reproductive biology of whales and dolphins already know and have known that these pelvic bones are an anchor point for reproductive organs. Co-corresponding author and collections manager of mammalogy at the Natural History Museum of Los Angeles, Jim Dine, said, but not something that they teach you in marine mammal class. Outside of a small circle of experts in whale anatomy, he said the common consensus, even among marine biologists, was that the pelvis was a useless bone, or one that would disappear given a few million more years of evolution, unquote. I doubt we'll give it that chance to disappear. But they did say that whales have huge penises and know how to use them. Whales have giant foreskins. Whales bang a lot, but you'll never see it because they're secretive.
You mean like
What that
humans?
I guess what that means is if you're a PETA member, don't try to connect with a killer whale by jumping in the tank. He may try to connect with you. I'll let that image sit. This was almost in Japan news, but I sent this in. I put this in WTF because it interests me, but it makes me uncomfortable. I sent you guys a link. Do you know what that is? This placed first place in 100 entries in an employee food contest in a restaurant chain.
Looks like
Chicken nuggets with spaghetti inside?
No, these are available at Osaka Osho until September 30th for 210 yen, about $2 a pop. What you are staring at are ramen donuts.
Huh.
I like that you did that together. That's why I said it makes me kind of horrified, but also very curious, because I can't picture putting the two together. That kind of looks good.
Yeah, hell, I'd give it a shot.
So it's fried bread. It's not a squeezed glazed donut. So it's ramen surrounded by breading, then fried.
So it's kind of like
it's
a
thick ramen noodles.
yakisoba sandwich, except with ramen rather than yakisoba.
Yeah, it looks like there is some minced chicken and ginger in there as well. Doesn't say specifically what's in it, and I doubt they will since it won a contest to go there. But I try one. It's still, as soon as I said it, as soon as I saw ramen donuts, I went, the fuck is that?
looks delicious.
Yeah. The Chinese have put in new signs to assist people with going to the trains, the public trains. Mm-hmm. Apparently people were a little confused as to what directions you were allowed to go in certain doors, and crowding is an issue. So they put in very specific arrows so you know when to go in, where to come out, and which directions to go to. All the arrows and signs are green and have the words "go on" printed in them in English and in Chinese, right?
Uh-huh.
There's a problem. I sent you guys a link so you can see what the problem is. What does that read to you?
Goon.
Yeah, the English letters are printed so close together that even people who barely speak English in the country are wondering why these arrows are calling them goons. Or even worse, maybe these arrows are pointing the ways to find goons. Somebody needs to be smacked about that one. This was a series what the fuck, but it was more of a general one. There's a Tumblr account of a lady named Carrie Marie. She goes under Urulo Kid, Urulokid. Urulokid. There you go. Urulokid. She was cosplaying this summer as Daenerys Stormborn. Okay?
Okay.
Which is one of the lead characters in Game of Thrones, Daenerys Targaryen. I sent you guys a link so you can see it. She's a decent cosplayer, looks like it. Right? The reason why this was a what the fuck is because she was in the middle of the convention, and she was trapped for about an hour, because a birthday party full of 9-year-olds came out, took one look at this woman in this blue dress and said, it's Elsa from Frozen!
Right.
Oh.
She spent an hour taking pictures with kids.
Okay. I see no harm in that.
It's not harm, but you can imagine that when these kids grow up and take a look at this picture, they're going to go, "Oh my god, we were fucking stupid."
Well, I would have a bigger problem if a 9-year-old said, "Oh, it's Game of Thrones."
Who's letting you watch that?
Yeah.
Okay, here's something that is kind of a problem only if you put too much thought into it. Unfortunately, some people have. Okay. Remember we were talking about Sailor Moon products earlier, specifically the Peace John underwear, right? Okay. Well, Bandai is offering some new products because Sailor Moon's been re-released. You know, the new series, Crystal, has come out. And they put out this, which, as you can see, is a nice wallet. Okay? It's probably pretty cheap. I would imagine it costs
I've seen this.
$20. You know, it's a decent wallet. Unfortunately, when you unzip it and take a look inside, you get this view, which may not be right for a Sailor Moon product. What does that look like to you? And I remind you that both of these photos came direct from the Bandai's website. For those of you that don't have access to a computer and the pictures we've linked to the show, just so you guys know, the wallet, when you unzip it and try and look down into it, looks exactly like a woman's pussy. Not just does it look like a pussy, it looks like a pussy as you're trying to peel it open and take a look inside. It's pretty bad. Whoever designed this either had a serious fetish or really didn't look at what they were doing.
I hope it's the latter. Yeah, it's just stupidity.
I wonder if the interior of the wallet is all soft and velvety inside.
Don't even go there.
God.
Oh, come on. I mean, it has to be. You're stuffing dollar bills in this thing.
Oh, God.
Okay, I'll stop. Last bit of what the fuck news I have is it's turning into a popular what the fuck for us. I found on nerdbastards.com the top 5 worst D&D classes from the old books of yore.
Oh boy.
Okay, should I
Sure.
read them?
Shoot.
Okay, according to Nerdbastard, number 5 from worst to best. Number 5 is the Archer. Quote, okay, do you know who else gets the bonus to using bows? Elves. And anybody with good dexterity. Before they had feats like quick draw or double shots or rapid firing, all it was a +1 to hit. That was your advantage. A +1, unquote. Number 4 is the Assassin. Quote, okay, sounds like a cool class, right? Wrong. In the original books, all there was for the Assassin was thieving skills, which were partial. And poison creation? Nope. It was just like, run up to your mark and backstab him. Do you know who else can do that? Regular thieves who are evil, unquote. That's a fair point. Number 3 is the Alchemist. Quote, okay, an alchemy proficiency. Cool. Helpful. The Alchemist class? Worth? Fuck oh. What the hell is he going to do with his minuses to hit a monster? Hurl a beaker at an orc? Start talking chemistry and physics to bore them to death? Compare beards and spectacles with dwarves? No. He's like the token black guy who dies in every horror movie. He's your NPC that is riding along to make the giants bolder for you.
Makes
Unquote.
you appreciate the Alchemist and Pathfinder.
Okay, how about number 2, the Druid? Quote, can't fight with good weapons, can't cast normal priest spells, can't cast mage spells, can barely wear armor, can't summon animals to fight with him. No. A druid is useless as a playable character unless he is higher level, and by then you wish you just had him as an underling. Unquote. I don't know much about that. Any guesses as to what the number 1, according to Nerdbastard, most useless D&D character is, or number 1 most useless character class is?
Blizzard?
No.
No. Steve, any guesses?
I don't know. My personal one on the list would be the pacifist priest, but
Monk?
No.
No.
Paladin.
Number 1 on the list of worst D&D classes, one I'm surprised you guys don't know because it's one of the worst classes in most games, is they put it in the Bard.
Oh God. Why did I not think?
Well,
I don't
Well,
even think of it as
I
a
don't
class.
care about
That's
it.
why.
Okay, well, this is what they had to say. Quote, I don't care about his charm capabilities. He has to literally have his loot out to lull them into a false sense of security to pick his pocket? Why would a bard have pseudo-abilities as a thief? None as a warrior, and barely any spells in his repertoire that may help. Any bard I have added to a campaign has been his comic relief. If I could customize a bard and make him insanely strong with a beautifully cast adamantine lute/guitar that he could strum beautifully to make a group of orcs smile dreamily, then, when they didn't know it, he brings it over the head and crushes the skull in. See, I just made him cool because he doesn't exist. Unquote. I actually like that idea for a bard. I'm going to have to remember that.
I kind of liked WoW's. They did an April Fools, and they said they were going to bring in the Bard as one of their new. The only one that they ever brought in was the Death Knight, and then got booed down to the point where they had to nerf the hell out of it. But they were saying that one of their new classes was going to be the Bard, and
the screaming must have been insane.
It was priceless.
It was amusing as hell.
They basically incorporated Guitar Hero. That's how you would cast your spells and do your abilities. You'd have to play out a riff. He wielded a mighty axe, which of course was a guitar. So yeah, it was fucking awesome.
That's pretty cool. Well, we'll get into the subject of the week, which is the first book of Annihilation. Annihilation was the big cosmic event that put a lot of characters that were on Marvel's probably D-list back into the forefront. This included characters who would become the Guardians of the Galaxy, but that team still wasn't present yet. It heavily featured characters Star-Lord, Nova, Quasar, Gamora. I think Rocket Raccoon really made his reappearance in the second version of Annihilation, not the first.
No, Drax was prominent in it too.
He was prominent early. He wasn't very prominent in the first book. I think in the second book is when his character actually started to get some leg.
Yeah. Were we only supposed to read the first one?
Just the first book so far, yeah. Did you read both?
I read
the series. Yeah.
Oh, wow. You went about double what I requested.
Okay.
Oh.
All right. So we'll save that. We can do that next week. We'll get into book 2 next week. Let's stick with book 1 for now. The first book, it took a few pages before it got started because all you see is this marauding armada that apparently involves a bunch of look like monolith-style spaceships and creatures of some sort. It didn't really start to pick up, in my opinion, until the 10th page when you caught up with Richard Rider, the original Nova. You know, he starts talking with corpsmen who have been around a lot longer than him, and everyone's talking down the humans. Humans are not well liked in general. At least in comic books, they're not. The designs of the ships and everything was very... I don't know. I know this series, the Annihilation event, happened in the early 2000s, but a lot of it seemed to speak to the 90s to a lot of respects, you know? The design of Drax is just this guy wearing pants. I never did get the full story as to what was happening with his little friend there. I think her name's Cammy.
Yeah, I was kind of confused about that myself.
I know she's in a couple of recent Avengers Underground books, but I never figured out how she ended up in space, nor how she got paired up with Drax. I've never looked into it. But yeah, a lot of it, the early books is spent in setup, and then by issue 18, it's like all fucking hell breaks loose suddenly. It wasn't even subtle. You know, it's like the entire Nova Armada, it looks like, is in one place regarding a meeting, and then all of a sudden they're getting just wasted. I want to use the word annihilated, but that's a little too on the nose. But it was really weird to watch the Novas suddenly, you know, put on helmets and try and fight this, and they were just completely overwhelmed.
All right, I probably didn't read what you're talking about.
What do you mean? Annihilation Book 1?
I don't remember. I'm trying to... It's been 2 weeks since I read that. So, it's not fresh in my mind. I don't remember other Novas there, but...
There was a ton of them, but by the end there was only one. And it wasn't even like an ignominious, you know, last stand, I would say. They were just so well overwhelmed that they were... they were wiped out completely until the point where there was only a few left, and by the time Ryder started to figure out how to fight them, the rest were dead. One of the images was a star cruiser that was heading straight for the central planet of the Nova Corps, and there was no time to go around it, so he took another Nova straight up into it to try and just navigate the wreckage, and she didn't make it. He did. It's one of those things that doesn't translate well into words on the comic page. It was an awesome sight. Highly intimidating, too. Especially since they dealt with the Nova Corps ships in this, you really had a sense of scale into how quickly they were just beaten up and what the power of the enemy was.
Yeah, it was very overwhelming.
Yeah. It was one of the things that was sad, too, when he woke up from all the rubble on Xandar. And then you realized there was nothing left of anybody. His communication device was busted, his suit was beaten up, he was a physical mess. I mean, if this happened to something like the Green Lanterns, I'd probably pick up more of the Green Lanterns books, because I think there's too many of those. I do. I just think there's too many and they're too powerful. And in the 37th, or the 36th, 37th issue was a weird one-off with Ronan the Accuser. I think that was his only appearance in the first book.
Yeah.
He turned over his hammer to the Kree authorities.
Wait.
What?
I just don't remember him doing that. I'm wondering if I read that one.
Oh, you must have, because you got through a lot of it, and book 1 appears to be the first 6 issues of the Annihilation mini.
Yeah,
you didn't just read the first issue, did you?
And I read the 6 issues of the first mini. That was 2 weeks ago. So I don't recall a lot of things that happened in there.
Well, did you read Annihilation Conquest instead?
I don't know.
Okay, answer me this then. Who is the enemy of the Annihilation?
Annihilus.
Okay, so you read the right book then. I think. Because he was revealed towards the end of the first issue of Annihilation. That would have been page 42.
The first issue that I read, at the end of it, they revealed that they took down Galactus.
I think you read something different, because if I remember correctly, Galactus didn't play into the first book.
Okay, that's why I was starting to get confused.
Yeah, me too.
Because the story I had was more centered on how Nova ended up as part of the Annihilation Army.
Yeah, and one
this
I
must
read
be the second book, then.
Yeah, I think we read the second book then.
Yeah, book 1 was centered almost exclusively on Nova and the early exploits of the characters involved.
And the one we read, he was already part of the Resistance and
leading it, essentially.
Yeah, leading in.
Yeah, that probably would have been book 2.
Okay.
Because I had not. I mean, I read it as these issues came out. I had not read the compilations before. But book 1 was almost specifically Nova and how he ended up where he ended up.
Okay.
Let alone how he ended up in possession of the entirety of the Nova Force.
Yeah, they didn't really talk about that either. Yeah, that's why I was getting confused. I was like, wait, he turned over his hammer. He freaking started killing people.
Yeah, early on, Ronan turned over his hammer to the Kree. They weren't going to get involved in the Annihilation. But book 1, we may have to reconvene this next week, and we all read different stuff to try and catch up to one particular point.
Yeah.
Because book 1, you see how Richard River became Nova, or became the only Nova.
Okay.
How he became a cosmic force in the universe, and why he became a character is able to go not one-on-one, but close to one-on-one with characters like Thanos.
Okay.
All right, so we may have to, we're gonna have to do some work here and try and get on the same page. So next week we'll have the actual continuation of the discussion of Annihilation.
Oh boy!
Who knows? By the time we're done, we may have the whole thing read. All right, well, I guess you'll all have to roll with it again next week. I'd say it's part 2, but we never actually got to part 1.
Yeah, we've been trying to get this thing for a damn month now. Shit.
Yeah, by the time we're done, there will be new books to read. That's great. I invite you to roll with us again next week, and hopefully we'll have V along with us too. Thank you very much. We will catch up. I am Jeremy.
And Jesse.
Have a great one, and watch out for whale sex. What, I could have said watch out for Sailor Moon wallets, but I think people will start looking for those now that we put up that story.
I would have just said, beware of dorks.
In both cases, that's probably true.